Now we are live.
Are we? We're
Alright,
live?
just check it just in case. Should be good.
Yeah, it says we're live.
Okay.
Oh, we're live. Oh, jeez, we're live.
Oh my god. Oh my god, we're live. Who knows if we're live?
We're live. I see it.
Okay. Oh, I see it! Oh, our thumbnail is just the PR Podcast logo, though.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Alright, I guess. Get started.
All right. You can start us off.
Alright, cool. Hey guys, welcome to PI Podcast Live. If you're seeing this, it'll be on YouTube right after. Pretty sure we set the setting on. I don't remember. I don't remember if we did that. Oh well. If you guys don't see it, we'll
We'll
upload
figure it
it.
out.
But yeah. So definitely we have a lot to get into. So we'll go ahead and start because there's so many things we've done that happened over the past week since we last had our podcast. If you guys saw our live podcast on Twitch, we did one with my best friend Julio, and we did the whole thing. But, anyways, so many things. Let's go. Ian, the Packers traded Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders for a first and a second round pick, and he got a 5-year deal. Wait for it. Worth $141.25 million, and that's an average of $28.25 million a year.
Yes, so this was, I really like this for the Raiders. I think this was, I think Derek Carr needed that really good number one wide receiver. Their draft picks haven't been working out in that regard. You had Henry Ruggs, obviously his situation last year, and really Derek Carr, I think, has the potential to be an elite quarterback in the league. It's just he's never really had like a great wide receiver. I think Hunter Renfrow is really good. I really do think Hunter Renfrow is good, so I think Devontae Adams and him, they're going to be really good together. And it's unfortunate for the Packers, but I mean, the Raiders are now competitive in the best division in football.
This Davante Adams trade is good for the Raiders, bad for Packers fans. Packers fans are probably upset. They had a decision to make. They either kept Aaron Rodgers or they kept Davante, and they couldn't do both. Even though they franchise tagged Davante, they weren't gonna have both regardless, and they picked Aaron
Right.
Rodgers. And now Aaron Rodgers is with that team, but he loses his top receiver, and Derek Carr gets an amazing receiver in Davante Adams, and I think that just takes them because that AFC West is loaded. We'll talk about it, but that AFC West is now just loaded with the Raiders having Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow, like you said. I really think Hunter Renfrow is a solid receiver, and he's proved himself last year.
Yeah, and we already got a glimpse of Derek Carr and Devontae Adams together in the Pro Bowl, and I'm super excited to watch these guys. The Raiders were already a playoff team, and I know we said this on our TikTok. The Raiders just improved. They were already a playoff team. They just improved. And the Packers were a playoff team that was a first round exit as well. However, they got significantly worse.
Yeah, the Packers lost a lot of some defensive players like Zadarius Smith to free agency, and they couldn't pay him, but they paid his brother Preston Smith, so he's staying on the team. But losing your wide receiver and losing some defensive players when your defense last year was top 10, I mean that was the first year Aaron Rodgers had a top 10 defense, and he didn't make it past the wild card, didn't make it past the divisional, and I just think I just think that's gonna cause them problems. I don't think they can make the Super Bowl. Honestly, they haven't shown in 4 or 5 years they made it to the playoffs, and they haven't. So I really don't expect them to make a Super Bowl. I expect them to make the playoffs, always with Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think he
Yeah,
can take them to the Super Bowl. And
that's very good.
in other news, um,
This is going to be a hard conversation for you to have, I know.
probably one of the biggest things that happened, the biggest thing that happened this week, in my opinion. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. The Falcons met with quarterback Deshaun Watson, and they were surprised surprise spot for Deshaun Watson because no one was considering the Falcons were going to try to get him because we had Matt Ryan, who had few good years left in him. And so this was just surprising. And apparently we were a dark horse contender because Deshaun Watson was the ball boy for the Falcons when he was younger, and he loves Atlanta, and Arthur Blank really wanted him. The talks went very well, and we were just about to get him, and then all of a sudden, Deshaun Watson said, no, I want to go to the Browns because they gave me a $230 million contract. I don't care about anything else. I want the money. That's literally probably his thinking. And I guess the Atlanta Falcons took too long to trade Matt Ryan so he can say, okay, I'll just go to Atlanta. But they were going well, and he decided the Browns. And the Falcons informed Matt Ryan last weekend that they were pursuing Deshaun Watson. But Matt Ryan's sister, she quoted the tweet and said that was uncompletely true. But at the same time, we don't know if that's true because Matt Ryan himself let the Falcons extend the deadline for his roster bonus to Monday, to today. And also, he was supposed that signing bonus was a $7 million bonus just for being on a roster. And now today, Matt Ryan officially got traded to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round pick. And you go ahead, Ian, before I go off. You go ahead.
All right, so I'm with you on this. This is Matt Ryan, definitely, in my opinion, and I watch the Falcons play. I watch all football, so I'm kind of like watching. I watch everybody, so I'm not gonna say like I'm a Falcons fan. I'm not a Falcons fan, but Matt Ryan, in my opinion, definitely should have been a Falcon for life. He just had that mentality. He should have been an Atlanta Falcon for the rest of his career, in my opinion. And now it looks like with the releasing of, or not releasing, but with him getting traded, it looks like they are in a full-blown rebuild. So who knows who's the quarterback? I know they just got Marcus Mariota, but I kind of expect them to try to draft. But I don't know. This whole situation was really weird because it was like Deshaun Watson's going to Cleveland. Wait, no. Deshaun Watson was supposed to go to the Falcons or the Saints or the Panthers, and then the Panthers were like, we don't want him. And then the Saints, like, they were restructuring their cap, so they're setting themselves up for success anyway. But everybody was like, yo, he's going to the Falcons. Deshaun Watson's going to the Falcons. And then last minute he goes to the Browns, and, like, it's like, wow, what's happening to Matt Ryan now? Like, what's going to happen to our boy Matt Ryan? And everybody expected him. Then he came out and said he wanted a 3-year extension, and then they trade him. So, like, it was just a whole weird situation how it all went down. I think the Falcons front office handled this terribly. Because not only, really, Deshaun Watson, yes, Deshaun Watson's younger. He's definitely more athletic. But to be honest, Matt Ryan was never the issue in Atlanta. Like, I hate to bring up the wound, but Matt Ryan was not the reason the Falcons lost in the Super Bowl to that 28-3 lead. That was all defense. They've never had a good defense, and somehow they still made the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan leading this team. So I completely disagree with them getting rid of him. However, the Colts just got a very good quarterback to lead their team. That's all they needed was a good quarterback, and I was watching the Pat McAfee show earlier, and they said that basically Jim Irsay was like, give me the exact opposite of Carson Wentz, and boom, they went after Matt Ryan. So I'm honestly kind of happy for Matt Ryan that he's going to go to a legit contender now, and they might be able to win a ring.
So first, I never really expected Deshaun Watson to be for the Falcons to try to go for Deshaun Watson, and at first I was kind of it was happy at first and both either way because if we didn't get him, Matt Ryan would stay with the team. That's what my mindset was on. But at first I was surprised because Matt Ryan still had good years left in him, so I thought we were just fine. We would let someone else get Deshaun Watson. But the moment he decided the Cleveland Browns, and the moment I thought Matt Ryan was going to stick on the team, it all took a left turn because the organization, Arthur Blank, they messed up by trying to get Deshaun Watson. They just ruined their chances of winning for the next few years. Like, this is so frustrating because if you want to draft a quarterback now in this year's draft when you have the number 8 overall pick, this year's draft is so good defensively that a perfect edge rusher or a perfect defense player that'll be your defensive star for the future can go at number 8. And to risk that just by getting rid of Matt Ryan. If Matt Ryan was here, we signed Casey Hayward recently. We signed Lorenzo Carter. I mean, Casey Hayward's a decent corner. I mean, we're building defense, and now you want to say, oh, let's get rid of a quarterback. We just signed Marcus Mariota. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. Marcus Mariota, he hasn't proved himself, but hopefully he has a decent year. Whatever. I'm happy for him. He's my QB1, so I have to be. But to have Matt Ryan go away and now you're at a decision where you have to either draft a quarterback at 8 or stick with Mariota for a couple of years, that's not the situation you want your football team to be in. If Matt Ryan was here, we draft a defensive player at 8 and actually build up that defense with Matt Ryan. And that's exactly why he wanted to stay. He felt that we could be contenders in a near future. That's why he wanted to stay. But we get rid of him, and now we don't know if we're going to get a defensive player in number 8 pick. And we don't know if they're going to build up the defense as well because you don't have those picks. I get you get a third round pick, but if you focus, now we have to have a franchise quarterback again. That brings the point. Arthur Blank is so dumb for trading Matt Ryan, for even going after Deshaun Watson. He's literally, get him out of Atlanta. I don't even care anymore. That's probably why Julio Jones left. He was sick of Arthur Blank. I'm pretty sure of it. And he said, oh, Julio Jones and Matt Ryan 2 years ago. He's like, oh, I want him on my team. I want him to end their careers here. Oh, yeah, look what happened. That idiot let Julio Jones leave. That idiot traded Matt Ryan. All right. You know what? I don't know what to say anymore. All right. So we're going to move on.
Hey, but you let it off your chest, and that's what you needed to do. But could this mean... I know you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. You're always going to be an Atlanta Falcons fan. However, now you get to cheer for a player that leaves because I know you really like Matt Ryan as well. Could we possibly see a Matt Ryan, Julio Jones reconnection? Because the Colts need a number 1 wide receiver. And I know you wanted Julio back in Atlanta, but now you could possibly see Julio Jones and Matt Ryan together again in Indianapolis.
So the 3-year contract that Matt Ryan wanted, it would have saved a hell of a lot of cap space, and we wouldn't have to worry about cap space with Matt Ryan anymore. If that idiot didn't trade him, we would have been fine in cap space for the next few years. But now we're $40 million in dead cap tit. But I was rooting for Julio Jones to come back to Atlanta because the organization deserved. Because they disrespected Matt Ryan so much, he deserved to get his receiver back. But now going to Indy, he's in Indy. I mean, it would make sense if Julio Jones went to Indy to have his quarterback back. But the fact is, wow, now I have to watch Indy, and he's not going to be on my team. He's not going to be on my team. Like, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. If Julio Jones goes to Indy, I for sure know that if Matt Ryan stayed in Atlanta, Julio Jones would have came to Atlanta. And that offense, Julio Jones was number 1 receiver for a while. And he could be that receiver that Matt Ryan relies on. If Matt Ryan stayed and had at least Julio Jones, I think that wide receiver room is different. Like, it doesn't matter if we don't have a wide receiver 2 or 3. As long as we have Julio Jones, we're fine. And then now it doesn't even matter.
If Julio Jones would have stayed last year, who knows? Maybe Calvin Ridley doesn't need a mental break. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not struggling with. We don't know what he was struggling with, but like, what if part of his struggles was the load of the team because he had to carry that wide receiver group?
I don't know. That may make sense, but they decided to throw him away. Apparently, he wanted to go to a contender. He got injured, and he got released from that contender. I didn't even make the Super Bowl. So, Going
Cordell
to
Patterson
Indy.
did tweet. Cordell Patterson did tweet. He needs to start warming up his throwing arm.
Yep. Yeah, no, I don't think Cordell Patterson is gonna be quarterback at all. I mean, that was a funny tweet, but I still can't believe. I don't know. I don't know. I think the Falcons organization is gonna have a lot of hate until we get a franchise quarterback, and I agree with the hate. Like I've never agreed with the hate towards Matt Ryan, and I was always upwards towards the team, but after this trade, this team just went downhill to me.
Yeah, and it's gonna take a long time. Well, I'm not gonna say a long time, but it's gonna be a while before they can get it back right because of all the dead cap they have now.
Yeah, and I I hope we draft Malik Willis this year, but if we don't, that's fine. I mean, try to find someone else in the next few years, but I mean, as a Falcon fan, you're going to be in robo mode, kind of like the Seahawks, and that's the spot that Arthur Blank never wanted to be in. He wanted to see his team win, and now you can't do that. I mean, Marcus Mariota's only older, and he hasn't really proved himself. That's why he got cut. So that's
All
yeah,
right.
that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a hard couple of years.
Well, we are gonna save this topic for later. We might come back to it because obviously this is huge. This is really big. Um, we'll let Pritesh calm down just a little bit. Let him get back to his normal self. And then we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns for a minute. This week started off kind of rough for the Cleveland Browns. They met with Deshaun Watson. They were reportedly told that they were out of the running to acquire Watson. Baker Mayfield then requested a trade because obviously, if they're shopping around a quarterback, I completely agree with Baker Mayfield on that. Like before Deshaun Watson was signed, you hear that your team is shopping to replace you. So he requested a trade. Then they were out of the running, and then the Browns denied Baker Mayfield his request to be traded. So they kind of put themselves under the bus there. However, they end up getting Deshaun Watson. However, we'll kind of go into details about everything that happened with this. They lose a lot of draft capital, and now he's the highest paid quarterback in the league. He hasn't played in a year, so they better hope he's still in tip-top shape.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield is one of those things. Ian, definitely keep talking about Baker Mayfield. I just realized that we're probably echoing because I don't have my headset in. So let me go grab the headset. You keep going on.
Okay, so Baker Mayfield is not. I don't want to down talk Baker Mayfield. He's definitely not like a. I don't want to call him not a franchise guy either. This is actually really hard for me to describe. He's good, but are you gonna rely on him to carry your team to wins? Probably not. He's really only good when he's able to roll out of the pocket. Um, they said there was some issues with him being a little immature. I don't know how that is, and I don't know how true that is. But the Cleveland Browns went about this entirely wrong. One, I understand wanting Deshaun Watson over Baker Mayfield. Deshaun Watson, before he stopped playing in the league, was an electric player, and he could carry a team on his back. 100% could carry a team on his back. Baker Mayfield can't do that, unfortunately. And it could just be because he was injured, and he's still relatively young, but they just gave away way too much. Now you really have to rely on Deshaun Watson to carry your team. And I think he can do it, but like why would you even put yourself in that situation? I think Pritesh is back now. Okay, yeah. So basically I'm just saying I haven't gone over the trade details yet on like everything that the Cleveland Browns got. However, I am saying that even though the Browns are a really good team, Deshaun Watson's going to have to carry that team in a year or two because they don't have money.
Yeah, and it's a Baker Mayfield situation is hard because they did go after Deshaun Watson, and then they were told that they were out of the running for Deshaun Watson. And then they actually got Deshaun Watson, but they paid him $230 million. I mean, that's insane for a quarterback that hasn't played for a year and it's under 22, allegedly 22 misconduct things. I mean, this. I don't know if I paid that quarterback that much, even if he's the next Lamar Jackson, even if he's so good at escaping, because he can play. I know Deshaun Watson can play. We've seen him. But to pay him that much and put your organization in a bad cap situation, $230 million and it's fully guaranteed. That doesn't make any sense. That's crazy because now I know some people they're in talks with Will Fuller and some people want to join just because Deshaun Watson is there, but it's crazy because now next year, how much cap are you really gonna have? Oh, or maybe you'll be fine next year, but the year after that, how much cap will you have? And the thing with Baker Mayfield is his shoulder. We mentioned it multiple times in our podcast. Baker Mayfield's shoulder was injured, and now he requested a trade. They denied it until after they got Deshaun Watson, and now who knows where Baker's gonna go? He might even be a backup next year because we're not sure where he's gonna go. So it's kind of made a whole situation of a mess for Baker Mayfield, and that sucks for Baker Mayfield because he could have been a starter for the Browns, but now he doesn't even know where he's going to be.
Yeah, and I feel so. Like I said, I do to a point understand wanting Deshaun Watson. And upgrading the quarterback position. If you have a chance to upgrade the quarterback position, it's not a bad thing to do. However, to lose all that capital, the draft capital, plus all your money is tied into one player. Luckily, they already signed Nick Chubb to an extension. So they've locked him. However, they don't have Ngakwe, the tight end they just franchise tagged. Ngakwe?
Yeah, Ngakwe. David Njoku.
Njoku, that's what I was thinking Jaguars for a second because I've seen a tweet about Jaguars. They're not going to be able to re-sign him next year. And here's the thing: you have all these pieces together. You have Amari Cooper's big contract. You're going to have to try to re-sign David Njoku, and you're not going to be able to. And not only that, what if Deshaun Watson gets suspended this year? You're more going to I understand the cap hit for Deshaun Watson this year is only $1 million. I get that. So if he's suspended, not the end of the world. However, if you have to win in the next 4 years. You literally have to win in the next 4 years, or else it's not going to be worth everything you just gave up.
And that's what you're gonna have to deal with within the next couple of years. Because if Deshaun Watson gets suspended this whole year, no Baker Mayfield either. They're gonna have to go with a backup quarterback, and this season's lost basically. So that brings me to the point where they also released Jarvis Landry, and Jarvis Landry may be coming back. There's been several reports where Landry could come back because of Deshaun Watson, but at the end of the day, how much money are you really going to have if Deshaun Watson keeps playing? If Deshaun Watson's here next year as well? I doubt he's going to have a downgrade. The only thing bad about Deshaun Watson is he might get suspended. It's on the edge of probably at this point. But
yeah. I still think it's crazy to me because, like I said, if he does get suspended, you're hoping this year he's good enough to win that division if he doesn't get suspended. Because you've got these high-dollar contracts that you're going to probably try to restructure in the future. However, if they don't win now, why would Njoku come back? Why would Kareem Hunt come back? Why would some of these pieces on defense come back? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And we'll probably talk about this even more throughout the weeks before the NFL season starts. We'll see how he is in practice. We'll probably even get videos of him practicing and stuff like that. But we'll see if he gets suspended. Going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, your team. There's someone made I forgot who the report was, the website was, but they made a big article on Urban Meyer, and from players that been with Urban Meyer, like DJ Chark, they said that Jacksonville was called the most toxic environment I've ever been a part of. And then reports he didn't even know who players wore, like Aaron Donald. He literally said 99. We got to make sure we're ready for that guy. Apparently, he's gonna give us problems. How do you know who Aaron Donald? How do you not know him? Like he's the greatest defensive player out there right now in the NFL as of today, and he didn't even
The
know.
last 20 years.
Yeah,
Easily the best defensive player of the last 20 years.
easily, and he didn't even know Debo Samuel. And this, yeah, go ahead.
So these reports kind of came out like around the time he was starting to get fired or whatever. And this last year was tough to watch. I still personally think the 2020 season was worse. We went 1-15 in 2020. We went 3-14 last year. I personally think 2020 was worse product on the field. However, in terms of the front office coaching staff and some other issues, 2021 was the worst season, I think, he's definitely going to go down as the worst head coach of all time. I don't think there's going to be a way to top it either. He was doing things like Johnny Manziel was doing in college, or Baker Mayfield was doing in college, getting arrested and stuff. It blows my mind that he, as a head coach, was doing these. And I was super excited about Urban Meyer coming to Jacksonville. I think anybody that knows me knows I was super excited about Urban Meyer because of what he did in college. Now I know that the college ball and the NFL ball are completely different levels, and now I'm probably never going to want a college head coach ever again, anywhere. I mean, for any team. So if Nick Saban ever wants to come back to the NFL, I'm going to say no. But the one good thing I'm taking from this, because I think it's important to try to find positives in this, is that it held owner Shad Khan and GM Trent Baalke. It held them accountable for the actions that happened, and not only did it make them accountable for then, you just seen a complete turnaround in the front office from the day Doug Peterson was signed until now. They were willing to spend tons of money in free agencies to pick up some of the biggest names in free agency. They upgraded at guard. They upgraded at linebacker. They upgraded at D tackle. They upgraded at corner. They upgraded at tight end. They upgraded at wide receiver. Not only that, we still have our draft picks. And I really think our last year's draft wasn't bad. So if that's any indication of Trent Baalke as a general manager, as a talent scouter, I have good hopes for this upcoming draft. I think, I already said it last week, but I think we go edge rusher, number one, whether it's Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson. And I really expect us to go for a good wide receiver at pick number 33. And as long as those two things happen, and I really want a center. If Brandon Linder, he's debating retirement right now. If our center retires, I would like to see a center drafted at number 3. And if really those three things happen, I'll be over the moon excited, and I'll stop bashing Trent Baalke for a season.
Yeah, this organization really, Urban Meyer kind of was just the talk of the town, and he just became such a huge distraction for the Jaguars that at that point, no one cared if they won games anymore. It was just about, what's Urban Meyer doing today? What's Urban Meyer going to do next week? Because Urban Meyer became the laughingstock of the NFL within a span of a few weeks. And the crazy thing is, bring this up for a second, but John Gruden, he's had racist tweets with racist messages in his emails, but Urban Meyer, he was literally grinding on a girl in a bar when he was married, and John Gruden still got suspended first. And also with the Calvin Ridley thing, he gambled, yeah, and then people beat up their wives, and they only get a few games suspension when Calvin Ridley gambling gets 1 year of suspended. It goes to show the GM of the NFL, that Roger Goodell, the commissioner, It shows how much he really cares about what the players do. And even Urban Meyer's family is defending him, but how do you defend him when you literally saw the picture of what was happening? How do you defend
Yeah.
him? I think maybe it's I'm not gonna assume anything, but do you just want him to get paid more? I mean, do you want to have that life? I don't know. But it's a good thing Urban Meyer was fired, and now Jacksonville, they signed a lot of really good free agents. So I'm excited to go to some games with Ian this year, and it's going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, and we're gonna be able to go to the Jaguars versus Colts. I
Oh,
know you'll get to see Matt Ryan play the
we're going to that
Jaguars
game.
twice a year.
I'm
We're
going to.
definitely going to the home game. We're definitely going to the Indianapolis Colts game
Yeah,
though.
we're definitely going to that game.
100%. If that's the last thing I do, that's the game I'm going to. Um, but anyway, we're gonna start into some of the free agency moves that's happened since our last episode. Well, the episode just got posted, but I think we recorded it Monday or Tuesday,
Yeah, we recorded our last podcast. I think Thursday
Monday
night.
night.
Monday night or Tuesday night.
Yeah, so like we had that episode just got released today,
Today.
so we might miss a couple things that had happened on Monday of last week, but we're gonna really jump in from Tuesday morning till now. Everything that's happened in free agency. Plus, I've got Twitter up. I've got the notifications on Ian Rappaport, on Adam Schefter. So if anything happens while we're recording this,
We both will be
um,
ready.
yeah, we'll be ready. We'll announce it right away. So basically, first things first, we're going to stick with the Jaguars. They released Miles Jack, and he was pretty much immediately picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 2-year, $16 million deal. As a Jaguar fan, hate to see Miles Jack go, but he was not. He was a very good piece for us, but I think he's going to flourish even more with Pittsburgh. And it was time to move on from Miles Jack, from his salary, and we just need a whole new look defensively in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Miles Jack he played well for the Jaguars. I mean, he was a
Yeah,
pretty good pass rusher too and linebacker. Um, and just adding him to the Steelers with T.J. Watt and that pass rush was deadly last year. I mean, I wish the Falcons had that pass rush. Like so many teams need pass rushers, and Steelers have it. And just adding Miles Jack to that just makes their defense a little bit better. Who knows how Mitchell Trubisky's going to play next year, but Miles Jack was a good signing by the Steelers.
and the Steelers, they did good keeping the defensive front. There's still rumors that they could get Tyrann Mathieu, which would be insane if they had Tyrann Mathieu on one side and Minka Fitzpatrick on the other. That would be like a dream come true with T.J. Watt rushing. Um, I think it's really cool that he's getting a defensive-minded head coach and Mike Tomlin. Plus, Brian Flores is coaching him too. So, like, he's got two really good defensive coaches that's going to coach him. I think he's going to have a good year. I don't know if he's going to be quite Pro Bowl level because he is getting kind of older. He's slowing down a little bit, but I think, and Jaguar fans are kind of upset that we released him because we probably could have traded him for a draft pick. However, I commend the front office of Jacksonville how they handled their free agency this year because one, I do understand. Yes, we could have got a draft pick for Miles Jack, whether it was like a 6th or 5th round pick in a year, like next year or something. However, when you have a very good piece on your team who's built a history here in Jacksonville. I mean, he was part of that 2017 defense, Saxonville. They made the AFC Championship. Miles Jack wasn't down. His name's forever cemented in Jacksonville Jaguars history. And I think I give a lot of credit to the Jacksonville's front office that they let him release and get to pick where he goes. And I know a lot of people are upset we didn't get anything for him. We just let him walk. But I think it shows a lot, especially Jacksonville doesn't have a very good reputation with players. You see all their draft picks always leave. Jalen Ramsey badmouthed the organization when he left because of Tom Coughlin. I think this was very smart of the Jaguars to just release him, let him pick where he goes. They released a statement saying, "Thank you for all you did." A+ from the front office of Jacksonville on this particular case.
Yeah, and that's Miles Jack. Miles Jack is going to be a great addition to that Steelers defense, and they'll need that help if Mitch Trubisky doesn't play well, and are forced to use their backup quarterback. Their defense is going to have to carry them, and it's going to go. I honestly really want Mitch Trubisky to play well because at his last game in the playoffs with the Bears, he played amazing. He played very well in that playoff game, and I think he can only go higher. And with the head coach and Mike Tomlin, I think his game can be improved. And now we go to the Rams, and they released their four-time first-team All-Pro Johnny Hekker, who recently just signed with the Carolina Panthers.
Well, I think with them getting Allen Robinson, they're like, we're not going to have to punt the ball anymore. We're never going to punt the ball again. We got Allen Robinson on the outside. We got Cooper Kupp catching balls that, he's going to catch everything that goes his way. They don't have any more draft picks, so I don't know how they're going to keep adding to their team, but
it's going to be tough.
I don't know.
It's going to be tough for them, for the Rams, to actually get some more draft positions and players. But Johnny Hekker is a really good punter. I mean, the Panthers probably wouldn't need him because they have Sam Darnold right now, and they don't really know what their QB situation is.
They don't need a punt either. He just throws interceptions.
He's throwing the ghost. That's what Sam Darnold does.
He'll throw it.
So maybe Johnny Hekker may stay on the bench for the whole game. But going to the Dolphins, they just signed back their linebacker Duke Riley. He was a former Falcon. We did draft him. Like 4 years ago, but he re-signed on a 1-year, $3 million contract, and this is just for depth for Dolphins. And we'll probably go back to Dolphins a little bit, but that's one of the things they did this week. And Patriots, they traded off linebacker Chase Winovich to the Browns for linebacker Mack Wilson.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a depth for depth kind of situation. I mean, obviously with Kyle Van Noy being out, they needed to figure something out for their linebacker core, but I fully expect the Patriots to draft somebody.
Yeah, and the Mack Wilson's a pretty well. He can play well. I've seen some Brown games last year, and Mack Wilson, he was covering pretty well as a linebacker. Yeah. And so also, your former Jaguar, DJ Chark, just signed with the Lions to a 1-year deal worth $10 million. And I think Jared Goff is going to have a good receiver along with Josh Reynolds and their receivers over there. That's going to be really good for Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that obviously, so to get back on the Jaguars, he didn't want to come back. He did not want to come back to Jacksonville. I don't know whether I agree with it or not. I don't know his reasons for that. But this is a 1-year prove-it deal. Nobody was going to pay big for DJ Chark. $10 million is not bad. That's good for a wide receiver, really. I mean, if you're anywhere between 10 and 20 million, you're in the top half of the wide receivers out there. I think the Jaguars greatly improved the wide receiver room with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. And DJ Chark, I know a lot of fans wanted him back. A lot of fans wanted DJ Chark back. But the problem is, one, he couldn't stay healthy. And that's not any knock on him because his injury last year, he had an offensive lineman step on his ankle. That's not his fault. I mean, it was a weird blocking scheme. Like, that's kind of due to poor coaching. But DJ Chark going to the Lions, I don't know what to say if he gets hurt again. If he gets hurt again, where's he going?
Yeah, it's kind of the thing. DJ Chark was getting injured a lot, and that's the problem. I mean, if he does it again, I mean, it's kind of putting the team in a tough spot because you need a wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence, and when he kept getting injured, I mean, he didn't have him anymore. It's like Julio Jones. He kept getting injured. Falcons trade him, and then the Titans release him after he was injured for a lot of the season last season. And so that's the big reason why they released him. But DJ Chark, I think, is going to be a solid receiver for Goff and that organization. I love Dan Campbell. He's a really passionate
I
head
really
coach,
like him
and
too.
I'm
Yeah,
really excited for the Lions' future with Dan Campbell as head coach.
I completely agree.
Yeah. And staying in the AFC, going to the AFC, we have former Washington running back J.D. McKissick, who's a well-known name in Washington. He signed a 2-year, $7 million deal with the Buffalo Bills. Washington still has Antonio Gibson, so they'll find a backup running back. But J.D. McKissick, he's really shifty. I've seen him juke a few people out in some games. That's even in the like when they played Tampa Bay and beat them. J.D. McKissick was playing really well, and this adds to the
Yeah,
Buffalo Bills like running back situation, I guess, that they have.
yeah, it definitely looks like the Bills are trying to really stack up running backs because don't they still have Singletary and Moss?
I think Zach Moss. I think they let him go in free agency.
Okay, well then this signing definitely makes sense and 2 year $7 million deal. I'm not sure the structure of it, but I mean, if it is $3.5 million a year, that's a cheap running back for his level of talent.
Yeah, this is gonna add depth to that Buffalo Bills running back room because they're not sure who their number one running back's gonna be. Excuse me, but yeah, that's gonna help the Bills a lot when they're already ready to compete again. And Marcus Williams has agreed to terms with the Baltimore Ravens on a 5-year deal worth $70 million. Former Saints safety, Baltimore gets some needed secondary help. Their secondary wasn't great last year. They played decent, but their secondary just wasn't great last year.
Yeah, this is a solid pickup. I mean, there was talks about them being in the run for Tyrann Mathieu. I think Marcus Williams is obviously Tyrann Mathieu. He's the big name, but I think Marcus Williams is very very good. And 5 years, $70 million. That's a fairly. I'm not going to say cheap, but when you're getting a very good safety for like what is that, almost 15 mil a year, a little less than that, that's good.
Yeah, and going back to the Lions who we just talked about, they just agreed to terms with linebacker Chris Board on a 1-year deal. He was a special team standout and defensive player for the Ravens, who made an effort to keep him, but he's gonna be expected to compete for a starting role on the Lions. A lot of people, yeah, this is a very safe signing. They're just testing them out, basically. Free agency is basically if you guys are learning NFL stuff. Definitely, free agency is where they sign players to make their team just better. And some of these signings are really cheap, but they can also determine how well the player can play on their team.
Yeah, free agency. So is they're not under contract, and teams kind of bid for the player and the player's agents discuss with the teams what the best contract is. Sometimes players want money, sometimes they want location, sometimes they want a ring. So players sign for different teams for all different kinds of types of reasons.
Yeah, and definitely if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below your question. We'll definitely answer them as quickly as possible. And going back to the Dolphins, linebacker Landon Roberts, who played well for them the last couple of seasons, he's signing back with the Dolphins on a 1-year, $3.25 million contract, and he's kind of like their depth linebacker, and is used when they get injuries and stuff like that. So, Landon Roberts signed with the Dolphins, and now another Falcons news: Falcons re-signed kicker Young Ho Koo to a 5-year, $24.25 million contract extension with $11.5 million guaranteed. And Young Ho Koo has been one of the best kickers in the league ever since he's joined the Falcons. So I'm so excited we're bringing him back for 5 more years. He's just I've throughout my time as a Falcon fan and when I started watching football, I've never had to worry about having a kicker who misses. So it's awesome to see we're bringing a really good kicker in Young Goku back. He's very accurate and is going to be very accurate over these years.
I like the signing, as you said. Young Hoku's an accurate kicker, and when you find someone of the Young Hokus or the Justin Tuckers of the league, you got to keep them. You don't let them walk.
His 3 points like every time. It's basically automatic, and teams need that. Um, yeah, and the Patriots they just re-signed the running back James White.
That's solid depth for them behind Harris. So, interesting news that just came up. The Patriots are also talking with Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette. You guys saw if you guys saw the Bucks, Leonard Fournette stepped up his game on Buccaneers, and he's been a physical back for them. And I just see him running over people, getting great big gashes of yards on defenses. And this would be a good running back signing for the Patriots if they do pick him up, because Damian Harris is good, but it was his first year last year. He was a rookie, so we'll see what they do and who's the starter. I'm pretty sure Damian Harris is going to stick the starter unless he gets injured or something. But Leonard Fournette would be a really good running back too for him.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette has shown he doesn't like to accept the backup role. However, he's very good when he's proving himself to try to get that number one spot. So the Patriots, if they do sign him, will have a very, very good running back room.
Yeah. And going back to the Falcons, they tendered wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus at the right of first refusal number of $2.4 million. And tenders means like they offer him something, but if another team offers him more, that player can take the other team's offer if it's more and if they want to. So yeah, this is I guess it's a good signing for us because we don't have any receivers at this point. So and Zaccheaus been decent for us, and he's really speedy and he can catch. So Marcus Mariota is gonna have a good weapon in him, and I hope we sign AJ Green or T.Y. Hilton to help Marcus Mariota a little bit this year.
Yeah, the Commanders, moving over to the NFC, the Commanders are signing defensive back Bobby McCain to a 2-year, $11 million deal. Decent signing. I mean, he's not going to be like, he's not a Jalen Ramsey type player or anything like that, but if he's your second or third corner, I mean, you're doing pretty good. And they've got to focus on their defensive side of the ball with Carson Wentz being their quarterback. That's not really a shot fired at Carson Wentz. I just think they're going to try to make him a game manager because obviously he can make some mistakes. He's one of them quarterbacks. You could be up 14-0. You need 3 yards for a first down on 3rd and 3 with only like 4 minutes left. And instead of just taking a hit, taking the sack, or throwing the ball out of bounds, he's going to try to do something to change the game. And it almost always is not a good thing. It always goes into defenders' hands. And that's the big issue with Carson Wentz.
He's limited that last year, and that's why his touchdown interception rating was so low last year, because he actually improved a little bit back with Frank Reich. But he did have that interception, that moment where he tried to do too much, and he spinned around the end zone and threw it right into the linebacker's hand and threw a pick six, given though he did go back after they got the pick six and drove him down the field to tie that game, make it to overtime.
Exactly. He is talented. It's just the mistakes he makes, like, overshadow his talent.
And that's why the Colts released him this year and not didn't stick with him till next season, because they saw the game that they needed to go to the playoffs. The Colts failed horrendously, and Carson Wentz didn't play well at all in that game, and that was a big reason why Matt Ryan is now on the team. Mm-hmm. And going to the Jets, they're signing former Seahawks cornerback DJ Reed. Actually, he's really fast and he can cover well, and they signed him to a 3-year, $33 million deal.
Yeah, this is a good pickup. He's one of the more expensive corners in the league. Like I was just saying before, if you can get a corner like 11 mil a year, anyone in the secondary. The Jets, you got to remember, their head coach is a very defensive-minded head coach. So I like the signing.
Yeah, it's a good signing for the Jets and adds to the already improving defense, especially with the Williams brothers.
Yeah, and sticking with the Jets, they also agreed to terms with former Buck safety Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead was a key piece in their title run, so this is a really good signing for the Jets as well.
Yeah, and the Jets adding pieces to their defense, and that's gonna help Zach Wilson so much. It's in his second year. I mean, the
Yeah,
Jets defense already had a really good pass rush last year, and just adding these other players to boost it, Boulder? What? I don't know. I forgot the word.
Ulster.
Bolster up their secondary is gonna be good for them.
Yeah, I like the so there's a newer football fans. When you get a rookie quarterback or a second year quarterback, a young quarterback who's still developing and still there's a different there's we learn the game of football by watching it. They learn the game of football in a sense by playing games in certain situations. They have to read the fields in ways that are like completely different than the way we watch the game. Build a team around a quarterback, there's multiple ways to do it when you're talking about a rookie. And you can give them a ton of weapons and just try to make this a huge like weapon air system where you've got a really good wide receiver over there, really good wide receiver over there, good running back, good offensive line. And I think those are all important, but also really important in a young player's development, a young quarterback's development, is a good defense because you don't want to have to rely on your rookie or your second year player to lead your team. You want to see that they can do it, but you don't want to force them to have to do it game in, game out. So I think the Jets bolstering their defensive team while also having some good weapons around Zach Wilson. I mean, they don't have all the big names like now like the Chargers have and stuff like that, but they have a solid team on both sides of the ball and they have a defensive minded head coach. So like Zach Wilson's actually in a pretty good scheme for him to be able to be successful in the NFL.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. He didn't start off well, but over the course of the last part of the season, he's really settled down a little bit, and he's made some really good passes that nowadays these older quarterbacks can't make, and these new rookies they will definitely make. So it's going to be awesome to see him developing more. I hope he plays well. Um, and we'll see if he's a bust or not. But I don't think he's a bust. I think he's going to be able to play well. And adding these defensive pieces will only help him because for just an example, like if he throws an interception, damn, and the defense stops him to 3 points, that's a win for your team because it's only three
Yeah.
points. And then if Jack Wilson can lead that team straight to the touchdown, straight for a touchdown, that's obviously in your favor.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on to a team that is a playoff team. The Buccaneers are sending the Patriots a fifth round pick in exchange for Shaq Mason. I was a little puzzled by this. The Patriots have always been known for their offensive line, and Shaq Mason is a solid guard in the league. I'm a little curious to see what the move is there. I made a TikTok on this. Bill Belichick's super smart coach. He knows what he's doing. He's not just making these moves just to do it. So I think there's a plan in place there, whether they're going to draft somebody to replace him or whether they're still shopping their free agencies. Because the Patriots always wait till the end to get bargain players. Like I'm trying to think, like Bobby Wagner's still on the block. So like I'm kind of curious to see if maybe he's gonna wait till the last minute to try to sign him to a cheap deal, and everybody's gonna be like, "How'd the Patriots get him for so cheap?" It's because they haven't got offers yet, and he waits till the second week of free agency to grab these guys.
Yeah. Also, Jadavion Clowney is still a free agent too, and definitely the Patriots could sign him for pass rush. And I really like to see Jadavion Clowney on the Falcons because that would just add to our non-existent pass rush. So I think that'd be a good signing for us as well. And this Shaq Masons has been a really good guard. I think Bill Belichick was okay to let him go because he's aging, and I think
Yeah,
Belichick has plans that we don't even know. It's crazy. He's such a good head coach, and he thinks so well. That's why he won so many Super Bowls with Brady.
I completely agree with you. And I mean, he made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback.
That's saying something. And now we're going over to Texans. They signed their corner Desmond King to a 2-year, $7 million deal.
I'm
And,
super curious about the Texans. They're in a okay. We talked about the Seahawks. Okay, so they lost Russell Wilson, but they picked up all this draft capital. They picked up a bunch of good players, and they were already they weren't a solid team, but they were close to 500, right? Even with the Russell Wilson injury last year. The Texans are similar but worse because they were not a close to 500 team last year. However, they have a good opportunity to rebuild because now they have multiple firsts, multiple seconds in this year's draft where there's a lot of good players that are all starter caliber on the offensive line, the defensive side of the ball. It's not a very good wide receiver group. I mean, there are a few good ones, but it's mainly your offensive line, linebackers, your defensive line that you're going to be able to pick in this draft. And now the Texans have a lot of capital, and they have a defensive minded head coach.
yeah, the Texans. There's multiple reports that they're gonna try. And what they're doing is they're trying to build around Davis Mills, who's we don't know how well he can be because he was kind of forced into that situation as the Texan starter, and they're trying to build around him and signing their corners that they know will play well back. It's only going to help them, and as you said, they have so many draft picks in this draft that it's only going to help them even more. And if Davis Mills can play well, I mean, I'm not saying they make the playoffs, but I'm saying they win decent amount of games. I mean, but already in that division, they also have the Jaguars, who already improved so much in free agency, and also the Colts, who already have an amazing defense, an amazing O line, an amazing running back, and they just added Matt Ryan, an amazing quarterback.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that division shapes up. It's an improving division in football. The AFC South has always kind of been like a bottom tier division, and I think maybe now we're about to see the flip of things because you have two teams in rebuild. The Jaguars are like Texans rebuild. Like if this is a rebuild, that's where they're at. And the Jaguars, if this is still the rebuild, the Jaguars are now here because they did their rebuild last year. They released everybody they needed to release. They created the cap room. They got the draft picks. And then this year, they got another number one overall draft pick who's going to be an instant starter. They picked up 5 or 6 really good free agents. So now they're kind of stepping over the top. I could see them winning. I mean, they won 3 games last year, and I think Brandon Scherf wins you a game. I think he protects Trevor enough to where he wins you a game. I don't know if Zay Jones wins you a game, but Christian Kirk definitely wins you a game. Um, the Aluakon wins you a game. I mean, he's going to sack the quarterback a couple times. He's going to get a couple interceptions. He's going to lead the team in tackles. So I think now you're looking at 6, 7 wins, and if Trevor can improve, I mean, you got to think they won 3 games when Trevor only threw 12 touchdowns the entire season. If he can throw 27, 28, maybe 30, and you have Travis Etienne and James Robinson combining for 1,500 yards on the ground, 1,700 yards on the ground, I think you have a chance at winning 8, 9, 10 games.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see this AFC South develop because now it's coming to a point where not it was for the last few years it's just been the Titans who they're making the playoffs, they're winning that division easily. But now it's at that point where the Titans, the Colts, and the Jaguars can compete for the division. I still think a Jaguars they're still kind of rebuilding, so I don't see them making
Yeah.
it this year, but I see the Colts winning this division this year. I know Tennessee still has their pieces, but they lost some key pass rushers this year in free agency, and they also lost Julio Jones, who they released. So they did get Robert Woods off of that, but I still think
I don't
the Colts
we don't know
can
if
go up.
yeah, we don't know if Robert Woods is going to start. Like we don't know when he's going to be back from his injury.
Yeah, I think definitely going to be back before Odell Beckham is back in October. But yeah, we still don't have a really timetable for when Robert Woods is coming back for the
He hurt
Titans.
himself really late in the season.
Yeah. So it's going to take a while for him to actually come back. And he also has to develop with Tannehill. Um, Surprised Tannehill didn't get traded either, not going to lie. But
I was a little shocked too. I thought
yeah,
they would have moved on from him.
I
And it's still
don't.
possible.
It's still possible.
Because here's the thing. So the market for the quarterbacks is really small now. You have the San Francisco 49ers who still has Jimmy G, and everybody thought he was going to be the first quarterback gone. You draft a first round pick, you expect him to be gone. Seahawks still need a quarterback. However, now Baker Mayfield's on the block. So maybe the Seahawks make a move for one of them. But if the Titans aren't sold on Tannehill, is Jimmy G really an improvement? I mean, the win percentage is there, but the ability is about the same.
Yeah, if they don't get Baker Mayfield, if they don't try to go for Baker Mayfield or any other quarterback, I think they're gonna stick with Tannehill. I don't think Jimmy G is an upgrade over Tannehill. I know even though Tannehill played horrible in that playoff game, but I still think Tannehill is more viable than Jimmy G is, and he's gotten good because Jimmy G's had a team. He had that amazing defense with him throughout the whole year, and that's where that win percentage came from. It's not because of
Correct.
Jimmy G. It's because of that defense. I mean, I'm not saying Jimmy G's horrible, like he can't lead that team, but Jimmy G, he did win them some games. He did play well enough to win them the game, but that defense is what carried them throughout the playoffs.
Not only that, the amount of weapons. Now, granted, Titans have arguably the best running back in football right now in Derrick Henry. But their weapons on offense just isn't the same as what the weapons on the 49ers are. You've got George Kittle, you got Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Raheem Mostert. I'm talking last
Remy
season. I know some of these.
Mostert. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just 49ers arguably a better offensive line. So I agree. Tannehill is better than Jimmy G, and I also think Tannehill is better than Baker Mayfield. The only upside to Baker Mayfield is he's younger and he's got a little bit more quickness. But Ryan Tannehill can run it too. I've seen him run it a couple times.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill. I think if they don't get a quarterback, it's gonna be Ryan Tannehill as their starter, and I'm okay with that. It's okay for them because I still think they make the playoffs. They're
Yeah,
gonna be
they're gonna make the playoffs if they don't.
yeah. The only thing is that they're gonna be competing with the Colts a lot more this year because I think just having
Yeah.
Matt Ryan there just improved them tremendously over all the quarterback signings they've had, like for Philip Rivers and then he retired, and then Carson Wentz last year. I think it's going to be a big improvement for there. Going over to the Giants, they signed a backup or even maybe even starter in quarterback Tyrod Taylor, depending on how Daniel Jones plays.
Yeah, this is I like the pick. I personally I think Tyrod Taylor is definitely good enough to start in the league. I think he's still got the legs, he's still got the arm talent. Problem is every time he goes to start, something happens. I mean, he is probably the most unlucky quarterback in the world. Like out of all 50, 60, 70, 80 quarterbacks in the NFL, he's the most unlucky. I mean, you could argue like Nate Peterman was unlucky with all the interceptions. But no, Tyrod Taylor, every time a team drafts a player, a quarterback, and they use Tyrod Taylor as the bridge, he gets injured. Every time. You've seen it with Baker Mayfield. Seen it with, was it Justin Herbert?
Yeah, it was just Herbert. He was on the Chargers for a little bit.
Yeah, it gets a punctured rib. I
Uh,
mean, so who knows? Maybe this means he starts. Daniel Jones backs him up, and then Daniel Jones becomes the next Eli Manning.
Yeah, no, what were you saying about the Chargers? Yeah, it was the Chargers. Tyrod Taylor actually broke his ribs in a game he started, and then he ultimately lost his starting quarterback job to 10 rookie Justin Herbert, and he just spent 10 years trying to be a starting quarterback, but he's been so unlucky, like you said. There's so many things. The Ravens drafted him in 2011, and he won a Super Bowl backing up Joe Flacco, but we saw very little of Taylor in Baltimore. And then he signed with the Buffalo Bills, and he earned a starting job there. And he had a really good year. It's just that he's been really unlucky with these injuries. I mean, every time he gets injured, they find someone else. I mean, I guess it's a good thing for teams to have Tyra Taylor on the team because then if he starts and he gets injured, I mean, oh, maybe the next guy is going to be your franchise quarterback.
Whoever you put in is going to be a franchise quarterback.
Oh yeah, no.
Being seriously, I do like this pickup because the owner of the Giants came out and said that they've treated Daniel Jones very badly. He's had a different coach or a different offensive coordinator every single season that he has played. And he said they owe it to Daniel Jones for some stability. However, them taking Tyrod Taylor shows they're like, if they say they're 100% in on Daniel Jones, it's more like 75% in on Daniel Jones. Because you don't sign a guy like Tyrod Taylor to be your backup unless you think there's a chance you're going to need to put him in.
Yeah, Daniel Jones's development has been really interesting to me because Daniel Jones, he can play well. I mean, he had issues with fumbling, but I just don't know. It's one of those signings, one of those quarterbacks that, oh, he's not really talented, the most talented person in the world, but he has a chance of being your franchise QB. But I'm really interested to see if he can play well this year and make sure that the Giants are his team. Because if not, Tyrod Taylor is going to go in there, and Daniel Jones is probably going to be a backup or not even signed for the rest of his career.
Yeah, that's a really good take. And really, the fumbling, you could blame. I'm not going to say you could blame it all on the offensive line, but you can blame a good bit of that on the offensive line when Daniel Jones is getting hit. I mean, fumbles are almost a direct impact of your offensive line when it comes to the quarterback fumbling.
Yeah, I've seen also. Yeah, their offensive line isn't great, so he's taking a lot of hits. But I've seen him running up pocket so much, and then whenever he gets hit or just barely jumped on, he fumbles the ball. It's a very odd, and like I was rooting for him to not fumble the ball, and then he runs, and then somehow he loses it. Like he doesn't even know how he loses it, but he lost it. So it was very weird to see that. But I think he can. I think he can limit that as well. There's a lot of ways to do that.
All right, so moving on, we're going to stick with some offensive line talk. The Colts are expected to bring back offensive tackle Matt Pryor on a short-term deal. This is good because, one, the Colts have arguably the best offensive line in football. You could say the Cowboys do. You could say maybe the 49ers. I mean, there's some teams that you could put up there. But in my opinion, it's the Colts, and it's not even close. So the fact that they're bringing back an offensive tackle is really good for them.
Yeah, this is gonna help Matt Ryan even more. He's never had an O-line like this, and this is Matt Ryan's scary with time. I mean, if you guys seen the Falcons the past 4 years, you've never seen him with an O line. And 2016, you kind of saw him with an O line, but that O line wasn't the best in the NFL. So it's gonna be really interesting to see because Matt Ryan has time in that pocket. He's gonna carve you up so much. He's gonna have a fun time in Indianapolis. I know it, and I can't wait to see him in Indianapolis. If he wins the ring there, I'm gonna be so happy for him. But this is just a booster their O line that they've had. So definitely, it's a good signing for them. Going to the NFC South for the Panthers are signing running back Donta Foreman.
Yeah, this is interesting because there's also talks that Christian McCaffrey is on the. I'm not going to say he's on the trade block to where they're like we're getting rid of this guy, but they're open to any offers. So and there have been reports that they're willing to trade him for a first round pick.
Yeah, and this is And this because also they just need running back depth because Christian McCaffrey has been injured the last few years, and that's I think that's scaring them a little bit because they've gotten trade offers for Christian McCaffrey, but they don't want to trade him at all. So they want to keep him, but they don't want to have to deal with his injuries either. So and Chuba Hubbard, he was a rookie last year, or Chuba Hubbard, sorry, but he got his opportunities, but he really couldn't do much either. I mean, it's only so much on the O line, but if you're not a good running back, then I mean it's gonna be hard. He was only his rookie year, so who knows? But I mean, Dante Foreman is a decent like backup job if McCaffrey gets injured or something like that.
I agree.
And going on to the same division, the Saints and cornerback Bradley Roby have agreed to terms on a contract extension. And Bradley Roby is a solid corner. This is a really good signing for the Saints, especially with Marshawn Lattimore. It's going to have two good corners on the side. And then they also have really good depth at cornerback, last time I saw. So I think Saints are going to be fine defensively when their defense has been good the last few years.
Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, they've restructured a lot of their contracts to where now they're not so far in debt. I don't think they make a big splash in free agency. Still, I think they're gonna kind of keep what they've got and maybe draft. But the fact that they were able to restructure all their salary cap, so them being in the hunt for Deshaun Watson actually really helped their team.
Yeah. Staying in NFC, the 49ers are giving linebacker Aziz Al-Shaair a second-round tender as a restricted free agent and gets a one-year salary offer of just under $4 million with the tender. So basically, this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier with that tender for Zacchaeus. It's kind of like this makes him a restricted free agent, which means players are going to have to offer him something for him to go to another team. And I don't see that happening, even though I think Aziz Al-Shaair, with the playing time he got on the 49ers last year, honestly, he's played way better than I thought he could play. And it was fun. It was cool to see him in those playoff games, too, because he would get pressure a lot when he was blitzing. And even pressure when he was going against the O-lineman. It was really cool to see, and this is a good signing for the 49ers to keep their defense together because they don't want to lose too many pieces if they keep Jimmy G or Trey Lance. Because Trey Lance, if he starts, I mean, he's going to need a defense, but I think Trey Lance, he could throw the ball so deep. He's going to be someone fun to watch if they actually start him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and going to another team with rookie quarterback is the Bears, and they agreed to terms with former Packers interior O lineman Lucas Patrick on a 2-year deal worth $8 million with $4 million fully guaranteed. This is to help Justin Fields if they start him. I assume they're gonna start him. I hope they start. They should sign. No, not should. They need to sign. They need to start Justin Fields, and this is just gonna help that.
Yeah, I agree, and they need to protect him as well. He's got some wheels on him, so he can evade the rush a little bit, but I think you need to protect him regardless. We've seen Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck had wheels, but we also just watched him retire way too early.
Yeah, Justin Fields, when he got starts, he was getting hit so hard. And like that offensive line couldn't block to save their lives. I've seen multiple Bears games last year where Justin Fields is trying to escape the pocket, and he got a touchdown off of it. There was one cool run he had, but usually he's getting pressured after 2 seconds of being in a pocket, which is not good for a rookie quarterback at all. And I've seen this one hit where he got sandwiched. That's never what you want for your rookie quarterback. And this is not going to fix it, but it's a good signing. And going back,
okay, I was gonna bring us to the next one.
Okay.
Former Jets safety Marcus May is signing with the Saints. So an already good defense for the Saints is getting a little bit better with Marcus May.
Marcus May, he was a really good safety for the Jets. I am surprised the Jets didn't bring him back, because Marcus May, he can really play, and he's such a ball hawking safety. I mean, he was on the Jets, so you really couldn't tell. But if you actually look at the defense throughout some of the games, I mean, if you go back and watch film, definitely Marcus May is someone to keep your eye on because he's young, he's not old, he's a younger player, and on an already good defense, he's just gonna lock down that deep part of the field, and I assume he's gonna get 5 or 6 interceptions this year.
I agree.
And going back over to the AFC, we're going to the Chargers, and their former pass rusher Uchenna Nwosu agreed to terms on a 2-year deal with the Seahawks for $20 million and $10.5 million guaranteed. The Seahawks are supposed to be in a rebuild, but they're adding so many pieces on their defense, but they still haven't found a quarterback, which is the main thing.
Yeah, but at least people that are new to football, there's multiple ways to build a team. Typically, you get a quarterback and then you build around them. However, the Seahawks are going to be able to do it a little backwards. They're going to be able to build a team and then get their quarterback, which is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Yeah. Let's take the example of you have Trevor Lawrence, you have Zach Wilson, and you have Justin Fields. Well, let me take Justin Fields away because they're kind of an established team. So Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are both on teams that are building around their quarterback. The Bears have a team where they have most of their pieces already, and they're going to build the rest of their team around Justin Fields. But a very interesting team that's going to be similar to what the Seahawks can do is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots had a team. They had a good team, and they used a bridge quarterback to get them Mac Jones. They had Cam Newton win a few games to keep them relevant. They were like 9-7, I think, 7-9, one of the two. And then they were able to get Mac Jones, but they had a team already, and then they made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Granted, that shows how good of a coach Bill Belichick is. The Seahawks have a good – Pete Carroll's not a bad coach. He's actually pretty good. I mean, his playoff record and stuff doesn't really show. Like, he doesn't make the playoffs every year, but they're going to be able to have this really good team and bring a quarterback into the situation if they wait till next year to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what the Seahawks do, and you said earlier Baker Mayfield is one of the quarterbacks they can sign. I mean, that's maybe what they have to do to have a quarterback for next year, but I wouldn't be surprised because Pete Carroll came out and said Colin Kaepernick deserves a chance. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't find anybody. They just sign Colin Kaepernick and see how he does. And that's one player I'm really interested to see if he does sign with the Seahawks. See how well he can play.
That'd be interesting. I don't think it's going to happen. The only reason I say that is because he has been out of the league for a long time. Regardless of what type of shape he's in, I know they say he's in the best shape of his life. That long away from the NFL, and being in good shape is one thing, but to be able to process everything at the NFL level when you have NFL safeties running 4.3s, you have corners running 4.3s. I don't think a practice can really. I don't think you really move like that in a practice. I don't think you're running at full NFL speed in practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can never replicate in an NFL game, a real life NFL game in practice. You can't. You just can't. I mean, you can replicate moments from games, but you honestly can't replicate everything that you're going to see in a real NFL game when you're playing against a whole different team. You can't do that. So Colin Kaepernick is going to be a tough one to sign, but I mean, someone needs to give him a chance. I mean, I don't care if you're a really bad team, just give him a chance. I mean, you got nothing to lose anyways, so I'd be really interested to see someone sign him. And Washington, the Redskins, over this week they released safety.
What did you just say?
Oh, the Washington Commanders. Whoops, my bad, Ian. I'm sorry I offended you. But the Washington Commanders officially released safety Landon Collins. They released safety DeShazier Everett. They released guard Eric Flowers, who's actually been really solid for them. and D tackle Matthew Udonis, who's actually been decent for them and got pass rush on the D line. So these are very interesting. I'm very interested to do Carson Wentz because they got rid of their safeties. They got rid of one of their good D tackles. So I just don't know about Washington. I know you got Carson Wentz. Maybe he can win you. Maybe he can compete, but I don't really know.
Yeah, they've got a good coach. I think Ron Rivera is a good coach. So I think Carson Wentz has gone on this career path where he has went to really the best teams possible for them to get the most out of Carson Wentz. I think right now with the Commanders being in kind of a rebuild, Carson Wentz only has one more year on his deal. Well, he's got like 3. Like it's a weird. They can opt out after next year. So I think this is actually pretty safe, and I don't think he is the starter. I think he's going to have to fight with Heineke.
That's a good thing to bring up because Taylor Heineke, he played well. He went toe to toe with Brady and beat him last year.
He showed flashes of being good.
And Ron Rivera, he's not he. I know they traded for Carson Wentz, which is kind of putting a lot of doubt if Taylor Heineke is going to start or not. But Carson Wentz is going to have to compete with Taylor Heineke for the starting spot, and I think Carson Wentz just wins that because of his experience and how well. I think his talent level can be more than Taylor Heineke. I just by how watching them both play.
Completely agree.
And also, the Browns have released 2-time Pro Bowler tight end Austin Hooper, and he recently just got signed to he just signed with the Tennessee Titans. So they're gonna have a decent tight end at the tight end spot. It was weird to me, even though I know he didn't have the best season last year with the Browns. It's weird to me how they franchise tag David Njoku and released Pro Bowl Austin Hooper, because David Njoku is a good tight end, but I think Austin Hooper is a better tight end overall. So we'll see how that plays out. And I think the Titans have a decent weapon for Tannehill.
I'm looking at Austin Hooper had his introductory press conference for the Tennessee Titans. Apparently, he called Kevin Stefanski, talked to him for like half an hour. Once he kind of laid it all out for me, I didn't really need to ask any more questions. You know what I mean? I have a buddy who's in there and who's telling me about the day-to-day, how they go about their business, how they handle certain situations. All those situations were answered by Kevin. I've watched a team from afar for years, so this is Kevin from the Titans, sorry. I've watched the team from afar for years, so I know on some level what they're trying to accomplish. But just talking to Kevin put everything at ease for me. Just hearing what he had to say about the culture, about Mike Vrabel, about the general manager, John Robinson, just understanding the men they are, how they lead, how they go about their business. It's just in line with a lot of values that I wanted to experience in this part of my career. So it was an easy decision for me once an offer was presented.
Vitally, thanks. Thank you. We appreciate it. We're glad you're enjoying the TikToks. Definitely have a lot more to post on a lot more to post on TikTok, and we hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. We have a lot to get through still. So that's a big statement. Well, that's a really good statement, but I mean, who knows how he's gonna play? I believe he's gonna have probably 600-700 yards this season, Austin Hooper on the Titans, but who knows?
He also mentioned, acknowledged there was frustrations with his time in the Browns, who released him last week, just 2 seasons into a 4-year, $42 million deal. He accepted his role. He explained he was serving as primarily a run blocker and splitting reps with other tight ends, David Njoku. Hooper posted 94 receptions, 780 yards, 7 touchdowns, and which was back-to-back career lows and everything.
Yeah, I think Vital. We don't definitely agree with you. The Titans, going back to Titans real quick to answer the question. Titans definitely get a QB next year or even this year. I think they're going to stick with Tannehill this year, but next year they should definitely try to replace him because Tannehill's not getting a job done. I mean, he's decent and he can lead the team to the playoffs and he can win a playoff game. But you guys saw last year, he threw those 3 interceptions, and they were really bad interceptions.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was really and talking about that game, there was a really bad clock management from Mike Vrabel because they were at the 50-yard line and only had like 20 seconds. He let it run down to 20 seconds. But I agree with you saying the Tannehill needs to be gone next season. I mean, it might depend on how he plays this season if they keep him as their starter, but they're definitely Super Bowl contenders with Tannehill because he's decent enough.
Yeah, to add to that, I think Ryan Tannehill is actually a really good quarterback to learn from. I think if they were to draft someone this year, maybe second or third round, I think sitting behind Ryan Tannehill and watching the offense, obviously a rookie quarterback wouldn't need to be in, um, like take over for Ryan Tannehill this year. They can literally let him sit all year long. And it's not like he has to be great because they do have Derrick Henry who they can rely on. Now they have a couple weapons on offense as well. So I do like them drafting a tight or quarterback this year.
Yeah, and Vital's a Steelers fan, and he's not too mad about Mitch. Yeah, I think Mitchell
Yeah, we love
Trubisky.
Mitch.
Yeah, I think Mitchell Trubisky is gonna play well with Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin can step up Mitch Trubisky's game, and in the Bears' last playoff game, his last game as a Bear, he played really well and could have changed the momentum of that game with a touchdown pass that what was it? Who was it? I think it was Denzel Mims. He dropped it a wide open pass in the end zone, and that would have changed. They would have changed. That would have changed the game for them, and I
Yeah.
think they would have won that game if they get that touchdown. But I think Mitchell Trubisky, he deserves deserves a chance with Steelers. And you guys have a really good defense with T.J. Watt and everybody on that line. So I think that defense is only going to get better. And Mitch Trubisky, I think he can lead them to a playoff game.
Yeah, I think so. The Steelers, obviously, Mike Tomlin is a defensive-minded head coach. However, he's done a very good job. Look, I don't want to cause any disrespect to Ben Roethlisberger, but I think everybody knows he was in the decline his last 2 years in Pittsburgh, and he was kind of a liability to a point. And I think if they design the offense super similar to what they had with Ben Roethlisberger, Mitchell Trubisky will perform at a level you haven't seen since like 2015, 2016 for Ben Roethlisberger. In my opinion, I think Mitchell Trubisky can be that good if they design the offense super similar to what they had with Big Ben.
Yeah, Vital. The Bears, they never produce QB. They haven't produced a QB well. Jay Cutler was there for a while, but he was never really
He was
really
never
good.
elite. He was never elite.
He could never prove he could never lead that team to the Super Bowl. But Justin Fields, I believe the Bears with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields has so much talent. I really loved him from the moment someone they drafted him or before someone drafted him. Justin Fields, I think, is a really good quarterback and he has so much talent. I hope the Bears produce him well. Yeah, Ben injured his elbow, so if that never happened, I think he'd be okay. But last year, and as Ian said, we saw him decline. I don't know if the elbow injury fixes that 100%. It may have, but I still think they try to move on from him.
Mitch does have a very strong arm, and not to mention he's been sitting behind Josh Allen. I mean, he's on everybody's top five list. Everybody's top five list. Josh Allen is on, and he's really, in my opinion, he's the third best quarterback in the NFL behind Rodgers and Mahomes. And honestly, I would put Allen above Rodgers in some situations. We're gonna really see that how good Aaron Rodgers is this year because they don't have Devontae Adams. And I actually got in an argument with someone on Twitter because someone said Aaron Rodgers is going to have the next better 5 years because it's Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams is not going to have a good next 5 years because he's going to have Derek Carr throwing him the ball. But people underestimate what a number one wide receiver can do for you. And I think we're going to see that this year. And I think Josh Allen is going to take the number 2 spot. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be like a 3, 4, or number 5 quarterback.
Yeah, removing your best wide receiver from Aaron Rodgers is gonna only it's only gonna hurt him. Aaron Rodgers can make any receiver look good. He did it with Aaron Lazard. He did it with multiple other receivers, especially Randall Cobb as well. And he's back on the Packers. Yeah, and Vital Josh Allen probably taught him a lot. And Mitch is kind of a mobile quarterback, and he can throw just as far, if not almost just as far as Josh Allen. And Mitch, I really hope he does well. That's going to be really fun to watch. The Steelers are going to be really fun to watch because Mitch, I want him to succeed so much.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, Rodgers, he needs help. I mean, when he doesn't have a defense, that's how he's doing these playoff games. He doesn't have help, but he also, I don't think he can lead them to the Super Bowl. Rodgers, I guarantee, if you keep taking weapons away from him and you keep taking the defense from him, I don't think he's going to lead you to a Super Bowl. And going back to Titans, Austin Hooper, that's a really good signing. And now we're going to move on to Darius Williams. He's expected to sign with the Jaguars. He did sign with the Jaguars, and that was his hometown. And he gets a 3-year deal worth $30 million to $39 million max and $18 million fully guaranteed.
Yeah, so obviously a Jags fan. There's not a move I didn't like, and I understand some people are like, we overpaid for players, but when you look at the contract breakdown, they did not overpay for anybody, and every single one of them, like we signed, I think 6 players. If we release them all year after year 2, it's a total of $10 million cap hit. So we only have to play them for 2 years, and I don't think people realize how good the contracts were written, because Trevor Lawrence is going to be up for his contract extension then. So they're going to have plenty of cap space to pay him if he plays well.
Yeah, Darius Williams is a good signing by the Jaguars, and I think he's only going to improve that defense. The defense already got a lot better this year in free agency. We've talked about that. And Vital, going back to Rodgers, the Packers, yeah, they wasted way too much money on him, and I think he retires soon, as you said. Ian, he's asking you, how do you feel about Myles Jack going to Pittsburgh?
Okay, so Myles Jack, he just has not worked in the Jaguars scheme. I think Myles Jack is going to be really good in Pittsburgh. I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to work out, because we did the Joe Schobert. You guys got Joe Schobert, and it didn't work out still. So kind of curious to see how Myles Jack does. I think you guys got a hell of a player. I think you guys got a hell of a player in him. I think he's still quick enough. He's getting a little older. So all in all, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers did really good in that. I don't care that we released him. I think it was good we released him because, one, I don't think it was worth us sending him anywhere. I think the Jaguars have to reestablish their front office, because when we had Tom Coughlin, we got a rap for being a terrible place to go to. We treated players badly and all this. So releasing Myles Jack and letting him pick where he got to go obviously was a rival, but I think it's really good for Myles Jack. I think it's really good for the Steelers, and he's getting paired up with a defensive-minded head coach and Brian Flores. So I think it's a really good pickup for the Steelers.
Yeah, at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about this. Myles Jack is a good signing by the Steelers, but Ian explained it very well. And also I agree with you, Vital. I think Christian Kirk got paid way too much, but Ian's gonna explain this a lot. I definitely agree with him. I still think he got paid too much, but Ian's gonna explain it a lot better. But the Jaguars need a wide receiver, and they don't have too many options at this point, so they paid what they felt. And then, yeah.
Okay, so with the whole Christian Kirk thing, one, we had to get weapons for Trevor Lawrence. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a super good move for our front office because last year with the Urban Meyer debacle, Trent Baalke, our GM, and owner Shad Khan were both under fire. And not only that, we took almost 2 months to hire a new head coach. So they had to get this free agency right. They literally had to, or Trent Baalke was going to get fired, and we were going to be out. Think about this: the last game of the season, there was people wearing clown outfits to the stadium. They literally had to get Trevor Lawrence weapons. So, like, yes, he was paid too much, but they literally had to do it because you just spent you spent your first overall pick on Trevor Lawrence. You have to see what he's made of. And not only that, you want to keep Trevor Lawrence in the future. So you have to show you're willing to do whatever it takes to get him weapons if you want to re-sign him in 3 years or 4 years, whatever the contract is.
Yeah, Ian explained it so perfectly. I think they needed a receiver. So, and the vital I don't think they had to pay that much. I think they went overboard just a little bit, but they still need a wide receiver. I see where you're going with this. Jarvis Landry is a good option, but he hasn't really. That's why he got released by Cleveland because he hasn't proven he can be a wide receiver one. And also Julio's been injured the last 2 years and barely has played games for both Falcons and Jaguars within the last couple of years. So that's a big reason why no one's signing Julio Jones right now because he's
Yeah,
injury prone.
the Julio thing is similar to the DJ Chark thing. We didn't sign DJ Chark because he's been injured 3 out of the last 4 years, and Julio's been injured the last 2 years now. So I think they literally had to hit a home run with someone. Jarvis Landry would have been a good one, I'll admit. Like, you could have went Jarvis Landry, you could have went Christian Kirk, but Christian Kirk is a little younger. Um, I also think he's faster. I think Christian Kirk also lines up better in the slot. I think they're going to draft a wide receiver at 33 for a true number one like Pickens or someone. Um, so I think that's why. And I think Jarvis Landry probably would have wanted even more money because there is such thing like we all joke about it on social media. There is a Jaguars tax. You have to pay more to get players here. So like if we were willing to pay Christian Kirk 36 million or whatever it was. I don't even remember what it was. 40 million. I don't remember. But I think Landry probably would have wanted $25 million a year. He would have been the next Devontae Adams if he would have came here.
Yeah, bringing in veterans would help Trevor Lawrence out a little bit, but at the same time, there's only certain veteran wide receivers that can help. Julio Jones, it would be a good signing for the Jaguars. Look, honestly, if he didn't have injury problems, and also AJ Green or even T.Y. Hilton
I
would
would
be
have liked AJ
good
Green.
too. Who knows? Free agency, Jaguars probably may sign one of them that I'm talking about. So who knows? But yeah, they would be good. Jarvis would be a good fit for Trevor Lawrence as well as kind of like a check down. I just don't know how much he's asking, but now he's reportedly expected to go back to Cleveland with Deshaun Watson. And going back to our list, we have a lot to talk about, so it's probably gonna be a long podcast.
Yeah.
Raiders pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue was just traded to the Colts for cornerback Rock Ya-Sin.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Cornerback Rock Ya-Sin. I've seen him play on the Colts. I don't know how. Oh well, Sunday ticket. I have Sunday tickets, so I'm able to watch a lot of teams play, especially on Red Zone. But Rock Ya-Sin, he played well for the Colts last year, but this was a really good trade for the Colts because Yannick Ngakoue is a really good pass rusher. He's aging, but he's a really good pass rusher from the Jaguars and on the Raiders. He was on the Raiders last year, and that Raiders pass rush was so good. So I think that's going to be
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, I like what the Colts did here because one, obviously they didn't know they were getting Matt Ryan at the time this happened, but I think a good pass rush is is like kind of underrated in a sense. You literally seen. I'm not saying that these like Ngakwe is anywhere near the talent of Aaron Donald, and I'm not saying the Colts defensive line is anywhere near Aaron Donald's defensive line, but we saw what a good defensive line can do for a team. It can literally win you a game. So
Yeah,
I love the move the Colts did.
yeah. For example, the Broncos and Peyton Manning, that defense won them that game. And a lot of other teams, their defense has really been a big part of why they've won Super Bowls. Yeah, but I'll definitely agree with you. Rock Sin, when I watched him play, he's been solid for Indianapolis. But this trade makes sense because they just add more pass rush to their defense, which is probably the weakest part of that Colts defense is their pass rush. So this is just a trade for trade. I don't. There was no picks involved in this trade. I don't believe that I read. So it's just a player for player trade that actually worked well for both teams. And going back to the Bears, former Bears cornerback Artie Burns is going to the Seahawks on 1 year, $2 million deal. Seahawks in rebuild mode. They're trying to get corners out. They're trying to get anybody out there so that they can help their team.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier, the Seahawks, they have the potential to be a super desirable destination for a quarterback in a year. Because one, they got all these draft picks. They can rebuild their entire team off 2 drafts almost because of the amount of draft picks they got for Russell Wilson, plus the players they got for Russell Wilson. And really, once they start getting they already have a desirable wide receiver group. But once they can use these draft picks in this draft, because it's a really good offensive line draft, it'll be a super desirable place for a quarterback once they get the offensive line in check.
Yeah, I definitely, I agree with you, Ian. The good thing about me and Ian when we started this podcast, so we agree on like almost everything, basically. So this just helps out a lot. But definitely, the Seahawks are gonna get much needed help. Yeah, Artie Burns when he played on the Steelers, he was horrible. I've seen him get mossed. I've seen him get burned so many times when he was on the Steelers. But also, like you said, Vital, I think Von Miller did get overpaid. I think he did get overpaid because he's an aging pass rusher, and he's really aging. So he's older, and that's a big extension by the Bills. But I think they wanted him so bad, and I think they were willing to pay that, and they were willing to pay that for the defense.
Let's see. I agree. I think the Bills, after they lost to the Chiefs, they realized they had to do something on the defense. I don't think the pass rush was they have a decent secondary. They had trouble getting to Patrick Mahomes. I think that kind of opened up their eyes where they were like, wow, we need to do something to get to the quarterback. Because if they get to Patrick Mahomes one time in the fourth quarter, it could have changed the entire game.
Yeah, it would have changed the game too because they literally let Patrick Mahomes go 13 seconds down the field. We talked about this on the very first podcast. There's no way you let that happen. 13 seconds. If they have Von Miller, maybe he gets enough pressure to where Mahomes has to go somewhere else. But I think that should have never happened. That really should have never happened. I think Von Miller will be a good piece for the Bills, but it's going to be hard when they have to pay other people and they have to let someone go. So let's see if Von Miller gets injured. Von Miller gets injured in a couple of years, and then they're like, "Oh, we paid him too much." They're going to be in that situation, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but hopefully he does retire. Like you said, if he does probably retire by the end of the 6 years, or before that, maybe he retires in 3 years or something. That'll help out the Bills a lot.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, Vital. They need to have that pressure, and that's probably a big reason why Von Miller got paid that much. Because I think any team would be willing to pay that much. Any team that needs a pass rusher badly, I feel like they'd pay that $120 million too. And that's such a big name too. So that also helps the player out a little bit. If they're a big name, they'll get paid just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think,
Sell tickets.
yeah, imagine the Jaguars wanted to sign Von Miller. I think he gets paid around the same or even more.
Yeah, probably 150 million.
Yeah. And I'm going to the AFC now. Former Texans cornerback Terrence Mitchell is signing a 1-year, $3 million deal with the New England Patriots. And I don't want to Belichick schemes. He's getting corners because J.C. Jackson they got let him go.
Yeah, like we were talking about it earlier. The Bill Belichick has a plan. It's hard to really grade the Patriots offseason because one, they always wait. You hardly ever see them go out. They did last year a little bit. They went out and bought some pieces last year after Tom Brady left, or the year before. Sorry. They did kind of make a splash in free agency then, but they're back to their old ways where they're going to wait. They're going to get these players for dirt cheap, and hopefully make a playoff run with doing that.
Yeah, I talked about it like a minute ago. Belichick's a mastermind. He's gonna do what he thinks is best for a team, and 99% of the time, it's what's best for the team. So I think he's gonna go heavily in this draft as well as like last year. He got a good 3 or 4 starters from last year's draft, which is crazy. You have to be certain that player is gonna play good for your team, and he
Yeah.
drafted perfectly. Going to the NFC, the Arizona Cardinals are bringing back their tight end Max Williams on a 1-year deal. And Max Williams, kind of, they just need weapons. Easy signing for them to because they have to worry about Kyler Murray and his wanting a contract now. And that Kyler Murray situation is interesting because Kyler Murray is such a good quarterback, but at the same time, you have to get him protection, but also you have to pay. I guess you have to pay him now. I guess he felt disrespected or something. Who knows? We'll probably learn about more of that situation later. Ian.
Yeah, the Kyler Murray situation, you're going to have to pay close eye on because if you remember, his agent came out with a statement that said, gave all his accomplishments and said basically they need to pay him like he's a good quarterback, and all these other quarterbacks in their fourth year are getting these crazy extensions and stuff. However, he mentioned in there that the cap hit wouldn't be crazy. It was along the lines of like, where it's a team friendly deal we're trying to get that'll allow his teammates to come back. But we've already seen they lost Christian Kirk. They're most likely losing AJ Green. He hasn't signed anywhere yet, so we'll see if he comes back or not. And really, the only piece they got back was Chase Edmonds went to the Dolphins. So I'm really curious. They lost Chandler Jones. So who? I mean, he could honestly sit. Like we don't know yet.
Is good. Honestly, random thought, out of the moon scenario. If Kyler Murray doesn't want to be on the Cardinals anymore, if they don't want to pay him, maybe he gets traded to maybe the Falcons or something like that. Who needs
Oh, you would wish. You wish.
out of the moon
You wish
scenario, out of the moon, like crazy, never gonna happen
That's in
scenario.
a different
Yeah, that's
universe.
in a
That's not
different.
even over the moon.
That's something else. But going back,
No, I
kind
think he
of
said because he's still under contract for like this year, and they can franchise tag him the next year. So I don't think he goes anywhere. I think they honestly will let him sit.
if he
Which is
sits, I think they trade him. I think he's gonna demand a
I don't
trade if he
know. I
sits.
don't know because they have Colt McCoy that's there ready to play. I'm not saying Colt McCoy's going to win games like a lot of them, but he did win a game last year. So I mean, we'll see.
Uh, we'll see.
I don't
But
think they let him walk. I really don't because they moved. I mean, obviously Josh Rosen was nothing special, but they had him and they were like, "We're going to stick with Josh Rosen," and then they used their number 1 overall pick to Colin Murray. I don't think you can just move on from that unless it's like a Baker Mayfield situation where like he's not performing, but Kyler Murray is performing, and I think it's going to be like a Deshaun Watson situation if they do like come to terms where Kyler Murray's leaving. It's going to cost 4 draft picks or 4 first 3 seconds. Like, it's going to be an insane haul if they do move on from him. But I don't see that happening. I really don't.
Yeah, I see Kyler playing for Cardinals this year. I think they give him what he wants, because they
I
need
think
him.
they eventually do.
Yeah, I think they need him, and I don't think they're gonna go this year with Colt McCoy because they want to compete. So in my mind, I don't. I see Kyler getting an extension that he wants. Going off topic for a second, Ian, or well, I have a cousin. He doesn't drive much, but he's not very good at driving. He brakes super hard on the brake pedal, and he just texted me. He's going to get Taco Bell, and he just texted me, "Oh, I'll be." I said, "Be safe," because it's one of the options of the smart search or whatever, smart reply, and he texted me back, "Be safe. Don't worry. I'll be safe. I'm the best driver ever."
Ew.
So that's
Wait, was that Poku?
yeah, that was fucking. My cousin's super funny. Definitely maybe have him on. Definitely, you guys will see him maybe eventually. He knows nothing about sports, so maybe not. But going back to the
No,
list,
that would be funny. We can
not,
mess with him a little bit.
yeah. Going back to the list, Bears D tackle Bilal Nichols is expected to sign with the Raiders and get a 2-year deal worth $11 million with $9 million guaranteed.
This is good for them. I mean, they're trying to improve their defense a little bit.
Yeah, Bilal Nichols, he was solid for however long he was with the Bears, and
The defensive line is going to look completely different for the Raiders.
yeah, and also the Bears defensive line too. They got rid of Khalil Mack, who was their best pass rusher, and now they're getting rid of defensive line players. It's gonna be really interesting to see how well that defense actually plays because the Bears defense has always been decent.
Yeah.
And we just talked about Chandler Jones. He signed with the Raiders, the same exact team that signed Bilal Nichols. Chandler Jones signed with them as well on a deal that's worth around $17 million per year.
Yeah, like I said, going to look different because the Raiders also released
Carl Nassib.
Carl Nassib. So the defensive line is going to look completely different. They only have Crosby that's staying. So I think that it's improved a lot, like by a lot. And also they got Devontae Adams. I mean, I said it earlier. I understand they are in the toughest division in football. However, with the moves they made, I think they're better than the Broncos. I think Russell Wilson's an elite quarterback, but I also think Derek Carr's elite. I think he's slept on, but who is he? I mean, yes, he's had some good wide receivers in the past, but he's got Hunter Renfrow. Like, people are putting him in the top 10 conversation at wide receiver, and that's because of Derek Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr is a really good quarterback, and Hunter Renfrow definitely played really well. Derek Carr may have been why Hunter Renfrow has been able to pop up so much. But Hunter Renfrow, he's a really good route runner. When you see him run zigs, when you run in routes, when you do back and streak routes, even he has such good footwork. Like one of the best I've ever seen out of a lot of receivers, and even some of the elite receivers. And also vital, Mariota to Falcons and Matty Ice to Colts. I think Matty Ice, that's a perfect fit for him in Indianapolis because Matt Ryan has never had a defense in his whole career, and I think Matty Ice is gonna be so amazing for the Colts. I think they make it to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan at least this year or next year. And go ahead.
I think Super Bowl's a little much. I'm not disregarding Matt Ryan, but I think the AFC is so much talent. I mean, the Chiefs are always going to be the top option for the AFC, always. The Bengals, I don't think they're a top 2 team. I think it's the Bills next. But the Chargers are up and coming. You've got the Bengals, who had a really good team last year. They lost their tight end. They picked up a tight end, and they completely reworked their offensive line, which was the issue last year. So I'm not speaking ill will on the Colts. I'm just saying the AFC is going to be the hardest route to the Super Bowl compared to the NFC.
You're right. The AFC is really stacked, but just how because of an O line that Matt Ryan has in Indianapolis, and because of how good the Indianapolis defense is, they never had a quarterback this good that can lead them, except for Andrew Luck. But even then, I think Matt Ryan was still better than Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
But
I do think they'll win. Oh wait. We'll come back to that for a second. Come
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Did you say Matt Ryan's better than Andrew Luck?
yeah, no, without a doubt. Without a doubt,
Ooh,
he
that's
was
a hot
better.
take.
Andrew Luck's problem was he gifted interceptions. I mean, he was a really talented quarterback. I still think he's an elite quarterback if he continues his career, but I still think Matt Ryan's better overall.
So you think Matt Ryan's going to be the best Indianapolis Colts quarterback since Peyton Manning?
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah,
I,
but
I do think Andrew Luck was elite. I think Matt Ryan is elite. I can't stand when people think Matt Ryan's not elite because he is an elite quarterback. He makes wide receiver threes and fours look like number ones and twos. He gets wide receivers once they leave Atlanta. He gets them these big contracts, and honestly, the wide receivers should be paying Matt Ryan um, half of their salary because Matt Ryan is that good of a quarterback. He's kind of like an Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying talent level because I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Matt Ryan. I don't think there's a lot of debate there because Aaron Rodgers is a little bit more athletic. But Aaron Rodgers makes these wide receivers 3 and 4 look really good. You have him with Scantling. People are thinking he's a number 2 receiver. No, on any other team, he's a number 5. Same with Randall Cobb. He's got Randall Cobb looking like a number 2 or number 3, and on any other team, he's a 5. And I think that's what Matt Ryan will bring to the table. It's just the Colts still don't have a true number 1 wide receiver. They do have Pittman, but I don't think he's a true number 1 wide receiver.
yeah, Vital definitely. If Luck played and they actually built that old line when he was there, and he got that O line, I think he leads them to a Super Bowl. I 100% believe it. I'm just saying
Yeah.
Matt Ryan as a quarterback without the team or anything, Matt Ryan is
It
just a
is
better quarterback.
it is fair. If Andrew Luck was on the team that the Colts have right now, they would be Super Bowl contenders every year. So I can understand where you're saying bringing Matt Ryan into this situation. He brought his team to a Super Bowl before.
Even with
So I mean,
almost
I
no
know it's
help.
years later. Yeah, I do understand we're a couple years later, but Matt Ryan really hasn't started the decline yet.
Yeah,
He's still playing at the same ish level that he was in 2016, in my opinion.
yeah, and it just goes under the last few years he's played actually in 2018, 2019 season, he played just as well as the MVP season, and no everyone thought he declined that year just because of all the new quarterbacks that came in and put really big stat lines. But going to the second part of that question, I'm not sure on Mariota. I actually talked about it in a TikTok. Matt Mariota, I really didn't care if he came or went. But with Arthur Smith, I think Mariota may have improved with Derek Carr, just learning from Derek Carr with the Raiders. And I think he can be viable for a year or two. But I still think the Falcons, my team, needs to find a franchise quarterback. I don't think Mariota is definitely not the long term answer. But I really hope he does well, and it's gonna be interesting to see because we've never had a more mobile quarterback since I was a fan.
I'll agree. I think Marcus Mariota was probably the best fit of who's available right now. I don't think they needed to go with someone like Jimmy G or Baker Mayfield because they're kind of the guys where if you have a good roster, you want to bring these guys in hopes maybe you can get to a champion or at least the playoffs. I don't think the Falcons are there yet. I think they're in they're trying to figure out what pieces they need still. And I think Marcus Mariota is going to show hey, we need a corner next year, or we like after this year is over with Marcus Mariota starting, I think they're going to be able to look back and say, oh, we need a left guard, or oh, we need a true running back, or oh, we need a number one wide receiver, or hey, we need a number four wide receiver. They'll be able to figure out what they need with Marcus Mariota at quarterback.
Yeah, definitely, Vital. We're gonna get to your division ranking for the AFC West in a second. Definitely Matt Ryan's Super Bowl run. He had Julio and Mohamed Sanu, and he also had Gabriel Davis, I believe. But definitely, that defense that year, it was horrible. I mean, the only reason why that defense looked good is because that defense in that Super Bowl run, they got stops when they needed it, and I've never seen a defense on the Falcons for a while play that well, like to make stops where they needed. They were a really bad defense regardless, but that number one offense Matt Ryan led was the reason why they made that Super Bowl, and the defense is the reason why they lost that Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and bad game planning. I
Yeah.
mean, you saw the downfall of the coaching there when you can't produce a game plan to keep the lead in that situation.
Baker could have been good. I think Baker I would have been okay with on the Falcons. I didn't want him because obviously I want a franchise quarterback, but I feel Baker could have been okay on the Falcons. I just think we don't have any cap space to pay him, so I think that's exactly why we just signed Mariota to a 2-year deal.
Yeah, you play Marcus Mariota through this year to get rid of that dead cap, and then, and like I said, you see what pieces you need with Marcus Mariota, and then you move on from there.
Yeah. The Atlanta Falcons defense in 2017, they're ranked number 8, but that's because of how lucky they've gotten that year. I really love that Super Bowl team, but that defense, they got stops when they needed it. That's the only reason why they actually it kind of were hidden and made people think they were better than they were. But going back to, yeah, it was definitely bad time management by Kyle Shanahan, and people say that Matt Ryan could have changed it, but look at Aaron Rodgers too. That's why he didn't go for it. He listened to his coach when he could have went for a touchdown, potentially trying to win that game against Tom Brady. But going back to your AFC West list, I really do like your list.
That's the exact way I would have done it. And for those of you listening, he did Chiefs at 1, Chargers at 2, Raiders at 3, and Broncos at 4. I'm going to let you keep on the conversation, though, because I got to run to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely Vital. I definitely believe your Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, that's a really good comparison. But honestly, I think the Broncos go a little higher at, I think, even 2, just because their defense is better than the Chargers, Raiders, and even Chiefs. It's been the Broncos defense has been really good. Sell the Falcons. Yeah, Oliver Blink needs to go first of all. But going back to your going back.
By the way, that says sell the Falcons, Arthur Blank. Now I'm going to the bathroom.
Okay. He's definitely obviously right. Arthur Blank is a horrible owner, and he just proved it by trading Matt Ryan. But I'll talk about that more later, probably. But yeah, I think the Broncos defense is so good. It just got hidden because they never had they had Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock back there, and they never really had the quarterback. I think Broncos go at 2. Their defense is the best out of that 4 teams. The only one I agree with you, Broncos and Raiders. They both have the same. They both have the same defense. So it's gonna be really interesting to see the AFC West because that division is stacked. You got Khalil Mack on the Chargers. You got J.C. Jackson on the Chargers. You got Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Juju now. On the Raiders, you got Max Crosby. You got Yannick Ngakoue. And you got some other pass rushers too. And on the Broncos, you got Russell Wilson. You got receivers. You got a lot better on you got a really good young defense. So it's gonna be a fun watch for all on the AFC West. The Broncos could be too. Their defense needs to play really well, and we'll see how Russell Wilson plays. If Russell Wilson is playing like prime Russell Wilson, he's easily gonna compete with Mahomes for that division. The only problem I have with the Chargers, these were two really big signings for the Chargers, Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson. I think that helps them, but the reason they lost to the Raiders last year in that last game to extend one of those teams to playoffs, the reason they lost is because Josh Jacobs was gashing them and their defense. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. There was a really good stat vital that I saw with Antonio Brown. He played 33 games and had like about 12 to 16 100-yard receiving games, but 33 games without Antonio Brown, he's only had one 100-yard game. So Juju, it was really good to get rid of him because he wasn't a wide receiver one. He wasn't a wide receiver one. So I really think that it was a good thing to get rid of him. It just now, um, Patrick Mahomes has another weapon to use because Juju can't play. He's not horrible, but he's not Tyreek Hill or anything. Yeah. Oh, perfect timing, Ian. I just finished. Perfect timing. Yeah.
Did we finish? We finished the podcast already?
No, not yet. No, we're on page freaking 4 of 9. But yeah, we're talking about the list. I think I said the Broncos could even go to number 2 or 1 based on how their defense plays and how if Russell Wilson could play like prime Russell Wilson.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. They've got a good roster. They got a solid defense. So
yeah, and Juju, I talked about. I think that you're gonna find this interesting. In 33 games with Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster had 14 to 16 100-yard receiving games, and 33 games without Antonio Brown, he's only had one.
Yeah, so I made a TikTok on it actually. I really like the Juju Smith picked up because when you pair him with Tyreek Hill, Juju's a really good third down wide receiver. He's going to get you the tough yards. Tyreek Hill's going to get you the big plays, and I think it's going to be a really good pair.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a really good pair. That especially, that's a little scary too. The only thing, they should have won the game against the Bengals. The Chiefs should have been in a Super Bowl, but the Bengals played so well. But also at halftime during that game against the Bengals, Andy Reid said something to him at halftime, which kind of because he messed up the halftime situation where they could have caught a touchdown, but they wasted so much time, and came halftime. Oh, yeah. But Andy Reid said something to him at halftime, and I kind of put him off his game throughout the whole second half, which is a big reason why the Bengals won. I'm not knocking off the Bengals because they played really good defense as well, but I think Patrick Mahomes played very safe during that whole second half.
That's fair. Sticking in the same division, the Los Angeles Chargers released offensive tackle Brian Bulaga. But the Chargers' offensive line was decent already, so I wonder who they have replacing him.
Yeah, Justin Herbert, he was kind of. I mean, they don't have the best offensive line either. A lot of teams don't have really good offensive lines, and Chargers, they built up their defense a little bit. Going to the AFC, the Jets are giving quarterback Joe Flacco a 1-year, $3.5 million deal plus incentives.
I mean, I'm surprised Joe Flacco still has a job. To be honest, I'm not saying Joe Flacco is bad by saying that either. I don't understand why you don't give that opportunity to someone that better suits. I mean, obviously he's going to be a quarterback 3. I think it's going to be Zach Wilson, Mike White, and then Joe Flacco. So I'm a little curious to this because it kind of seems like a wasted depth chart space this early.
Yeah, I just think they wanted depth if they don't want Mike White there, if they want to release him or something. But it's kind of weird. I guess it's a backup. Maybe they're thinking a backup scenario, like B, C, or even D case scenario where Mike White Zach Wilson gets injured, and then Mike White plays horribly. You just have that option, I guess, because I guess they saw something when he played for Joe Flacco, started for them. I guess they saw something. I don't know. Joe Flacco probably should be a free agent right now, like you said.
I give it to someone that better is like more like Zach Wilson in a opinion.
Yeah, the Steelers they built Joe Flacco's gonna be he's just gonna be a backup. I mean that's really what that signing was. Yeah, definitely Flacco should retire at this point. I mean, I don't think he's gonna get a starting job ever again.
Yeah, but at the same time, if he's getting $3.5 million to ride the
Yeah,
bench,
he's taking it.
sign me
He's
up for
taking that.
that.
He's taking that. So who knows how
I'll
long
live anywhere for $3.5 million a year. Now all I got to
Yeah.
do is hold a clipboard and teach some young guys how to play quarterback.
It's kind of weird how Joe Flacco went from being one of the top playoff quarterbacks and one of the top quarterbacks in the league to this.
Yeah.
I really don't know. No one even mentions Joe Flacco anymore. It's crazy. And Vital.
All I hear is he gets
Oh.
signed. That's literally all I hear. I don't hear anything else about Joe Flacco. Just he's signing a 1-year deal. That's literally all I hear.
When he started for the Jets, he literally, oh my god, he played so bad. Oh my, it's not. It looked like Joe Flacco wasn't even Joe Flacco. Like someone replaced him with a doppelganger. Um, yeah, the Steelers have a really good young defense, and they have a young quarterback now in Trubisky. So, um, I don't think they win that division, but I think they compete at least. If I'm judging based on um, Mitchell Trubisky's like his how good he plays.
Yeah, he's going to be better than anywhere near what Mason Rudolph could do. I mean, he's going to be miles better than anything Mason Rudolph would have done.
Little Mason Rudolph roast for me in there.
I
Um,
just, like I said last week, Mason Rudolph's judgment
that hit in the head didn't
is
help
just
either.
one. It didn't help, but here's the thing: you've got a quarterback, and you expect to see decent judgment. Okay, why are you trying to fight someone named Myles Garrett? Why are you running at him without a helmet on? I understand Myles Garrett should have never threw that or tried to hit him with the helmet. But if you have a brain cell in your body, why would you even try to take him on?
Yeah, Mason Rudolph's he's not very smart. He shouldn't have even tried.
I mean,
Definitely.
that's like me going up to Mike Tyson and being like, "You're a little girl." Hey, I mean, what? I'd get knocked into next Friday.
Yeah. Oh my God. Vital. Definitely. Anything can happen. You saw the Bengals almost win the Super Bowl with no offensive line. So hey, never say never. If Mitch plays well, maybe next year they'll try to compete. But that AFC is so stacked. I don't see the Steelers going to the Super Bowl for at least I don't know for a little while, honestly. Unless their
I
defense
agree.
carries them and Mitchell Trubisky
Vital
plays like a god. That's the only.
Vital Ali said that they should draft Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. I completely agree with that. I personally think if you're going to allow Mitchell Trubisky to sit the entire year or to play the entire year, I think you go with Malik Willis. If you want to just start Mitchell Trubisky a couple games, I think you go Pickett if you expect him to start his rookie year at all. Kenny Pickett is the more polished quarterback in this year's draft, but Malik Willis has the way bigger ceiling. I think it's kind of like a Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields situation. I think Trevor Lawrence was a little coming into the draft, but I think Justin Fields has the ability to be better in the future if he doesn't get injured.
Yeah, I actually really want Malik Willis on the Falcons, just to have. I haven't really seen too much from him, but all I know is from the combine, he looks decent. You never really know unless they start playing, but
Right, yeah.
um,
The NFL and college level is just completely different.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, they can definitely vital. They can Steelers. My bad. I totally thought you meant Super Bowl, but a division winner definitely. I could see that happening if Mitch plays really well because they have the defense for to win the division easily. And Mike Tomlin's crazy stat of never having a losing season on as the Steelers head coach. That's insane. So he'd probably keep it going this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, and we're gonna start going through these a little quicker, if they're not big, because we have a lot to go through. So definitely, Ian, if you'd like to say anything, definitely just go ahead and say it. But gonna try to move through these a little quicker.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. No, you're good to go. I'll kind of like do like that. No, I'm just kidding. We won't talk about them as long. We'll just some of you can just run through those.
yeah, a lot of these aren't big news, so we're good. Um, if there's anything you guys would like us to stop on and talk a little bit more of, definitely let us know in the comments, and we'll definitely stop for a second. The Chargers are signing long snapper Josh Harris away from the Falcons on a 4-year, over $5.5 million deal. Yeah, he's a long snapper. I mean, Falcons really, I don't think they really care, but he was a Pro Bowler this year, so who knows? Um, Commanders also released their starting offensive guard. Oh no, you're good, Vital. Ask as many questions as you want.
I would much rather answer questions from chat than to read the list we have. To be honest,
Exactly.
but like you can keep asking whatever. We can talk about literally whatever.
Yeah, just ask as many as you want. We're just going through this list as quick as possible because you guys' questions are more important than this list. Like, because these are signings that we'll probably forget by the start of the season.
Yeah.
Former Chiefs center Austin Blight is signing with the Seattle Seahawks. The Bears released linebacker Danny Trevathan, who's been really solid for them when he's played with the Bears, and someone with linebacker hosts will draft him. The Cardinals have released D lineman Jordan Phillips. The Titans have released Julio Jones. The Raiders are expected to sign former Patriots running back Brandon Bolden. And Zadarius Smith, some little twist. Zadarius Smith, he was expected to sign a 4-year, $35 million deal with the Ravens, and he was almost ready to sign it, but he decided not to sign it, and he's still a free agent. I think he just got signed somewhere though.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Also, Browns wide receiver Rashad Higgins agreed to a 1-year deal with the Panthers. If you guys need me to repeat it or anything, just let me know. Von Miller's big one. Von Miller, like you were saying earlier, Vital. Von Miller signed with the Buffalo Bills on a 6-year deal for $120 million, and through the first 4 years, it averages $17.5 million per year. Von Miller, I think, is still a good pass rusher. I still think, yeah, he was really good on the Rams, but Buffalo Bills are getting a major piece. Yeah, Danny Trevathan is underrated a little bit. He's actually really good in coverage, and the Bears have loved that from him. And he's just been that underrated player not a lot of people will talk about. And yeah, even the Titans could use him a lot, or even Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is a big name, and I think he's still gonna play at all pro level. I think he was the best linebacker this year, and he was one of the top linebackers still in the NFL. So, yeah.
Zadarius Smith has not signed anywhere as of yet, but he did visit the Vikings today.
Okay. The Ravens thing was funny. It's kind of weird because the Ravens have kind of a little bad luck this year in free agency. They haven't really done anything, and like now with Jadarius Smith, they want to sign with him. It's kind of funny. But Von Miller, this deal is a little overpaid, but what Buffalo Bills needed. And we talked about this earlier. Okay, we already talked about Miles Jack. Bills signed also tight end O.J. Howard on a 1-year deal. And former Patriots fullback Jacob Johnson agreed to a 1-year deal to sign with the Raiders. So I guess they have a fullback now. The Giants are signing tight end Ricky Seals-Jones. And Rick Seals-Jones is a solid depth tight end. I've seen him catch a few passes. Decent tight end. The Dolphins signed former 49ers running back Raheem Mostert.
I like this signing if he stays healthy.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert's been injured the last few years, and I really think he was a really good running back. And it just it just hurt that he was hurt. I really wanted to see him play these last couple years on the Niners because I think the running game it's already getting. Elijah Mitchell's they found their guy. Elijah Mitchell's really good find from Kyle Shanahan, but I think Raheem Mostert I would love to see him play. Yeah, definitely. If the team's in your division and they don't do anything. I mean, and they fail to draft players or get players, it's always fun to watch. Like I hate the Saints, and anytime something happens, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at them. Yeah, like you said earlier, Pittsburgh Steelers terminated linebacker Joe Sherbert contract and is now a free agent. The Falcons signed cornerback Casey Hayward to a 2-year, $11 million contract. And that Casey Hayward signing, I think, is going to be really good for our cornerback room because he's going to be paired with AJ Terrell. And last year, Casey Hayward only allowed 400, under 500 yards, just the same as AJ Terrell. So I think that pairing is going to be really good next year. The Cowboys just released Lyle Collins, and he just signed with the Bengals.
Definitely,
Yeah,
he did a 3-year contract worth 30 million. Or
yeah, I think
deal is worth up to 30 million, $20 million deal worth up to 22 million. 2 years. They can get out of the contract in 2 years, basically.
The Texans are bringing back running back Royce Freeman on a 1-year deal. The Jets are signing former Texans defensive end Jacob Martin to a 3-year deal worth up to $15.5 million. The Saints restructured the contracts of Taysom Hill, Bradley Roby, Demario Davis, and Malcolm Jenkins to clear cap space. And just half a week ago, is that a half a week? Can I say that? Is that what people say?
Just say 3 days. Just say 3 days ago.
A few days ago, they were at 29.9 million in cap space, so they have a lot of cap space, and they're probably doing that to get Deshaun Watson, which they ultimately didn't. So that sucks.
But it helps their team in the future, regardless.
It does. Yeah, definitely. Ian, go ahead. Oh no, you can. You can. I don't know. Whatever. San Francisco 49ers announced they have signed former Packers linebacker Oren Burks to a 2-year deal. Hassan Ridgeway is signing with the 49ers on a 1-year deal worth $2.5 million. And the Bills officially released wide receiver Cole Beasley after they let him seek a trade, but nothing came of it. And Cole Beasley is he's a good slot receiver. I think Josh Allen used him well in Buffalo, and I think a wide receiver needs team could be a good
solid
slot.
Veteran presence.
Yeah.
If you want me to take over the list, just let me know.
Oh, whenever you want. Go ahead.
All right, I'll take over from here for a couple minutes. The Bengals have signed tight end Hayden Hurst to a 1-year deal. This is good because they just lost C.J. Uzomah. Allen Robinson is signing with the Rams for a 3-year, $46.5 million deal with $30.7 million fully guaranteed. Allen Robinson is going to be a great addition. I'm excited to see Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson line up, and there's still a chance they could sign OBJ.
Yeah, that's a big contract for Allen Robinson, and I
think he deserves it.
Yeah, definitely was underutilized in Chicago with Matt Nagy, and he even said Matt Nagy was purposely not giving him reps. So I think Allen Robinson's going to be a good weapon for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I really we're finally going to see. I think Matt Stafford's a top 10 quarterback in the league. There's definitely quarterbacks out there that are better, but this is going to be the first time ever that we've seen Allen Robinson with a really good quarterback. So I'm super excited. We don't know his ceiling. He's had Blake Bortles throw him the ball. He's had Mitchell Trubisky throwing the ball. Now, I know we were talking good about Mitchell Trubisky, but the entire Bears offense was terrible. So, like, I don't want to, like, this isn't really a shot on Mitchell Trubisky, but the offense just didn't help Mitchell Trubisky out at all.
Allen Robinson did, and Mitchell Trubisky, they played really well together. Allen Robinson was getting his best year as a Bear when Mitchell Trubisky was a quarterback.
True. The Giants are parting ways with safety Logan Ryan. The Bills have signed defensive tackle Jordan Phillips to a one-year deal. Again, they know they need the defensive line. I think that's their biggest weak link and why they didn't make the Super Bowl.
So definitely,
Eagles. Go ahead.
Definitely that Von Miller and the T tackle up is gonna improve so much with an already scary team.
Right. They had the number one scoring defense in the NFL last year.
Yeah, and
so
just adding to that, that's even scarier.
All right, the Eagles released defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. They're hoping to re-sign him. I don't know if they did. Didn't they re-sign him?
Yeah, they just re-signed him to a one-year deal.
Okay, so he's back on the Eagles. They released him, redid the contract basically, got him back. Former Bears and Chiefs running back Damian Williams is signing a one-year deal with the Falcons. This is going to be a good backup for Mike Davis, in my opinion, and Cordell Patterson. Cornerback Eli Apple is returning to Cincinnati on a one-year deal for $4 million. He got toasted in the Super Bowl, but regardless, Eli Apple is good enough to be so. I just think they need to figure out a way to improve the cornerback room to where he's not a number one or number two guy. He needs to be guarding like the number four guy.
Yeah, he's definitely decent enough, but yeah, it makes sense that he's re-signed.
Yeah, the Jaguars re-signed cornerback Trey Herndon. I like the pickup. He's not like a flashy guy, but he gets the job done, and he's going to be a really good third or fourth corner. Actually, he's going to be number 4 now because we got Shaquille Griffin, we just got Williams, and we got Tyson Campbell. So I like him at corner 4 or depth. So that's a really good pickup for us. Former Vikings D tackle Michael Pierce is going to the Ravens on a 3-year, $16.5 million deal. This is good for the Ravens. I know you probably don't like to hear this, Vital, but that's a good pickup on them to match up with. Who all do they have? Because they're losing Calais Campbell. Who's their defensive line now?
They lost Mason Judon last year too, like beginning of last year. So
they have to basically rework their defensive line.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough for them. They can't rely on that run-only offense because people are gonna figure it out. That's the main reason they've been losing the playoffs, the Ravens, because everyone's figured out that run-heavy offense, and Lamar Jackson, he isn't that accurate yet.
Wide receiver and return specialist Ray McLeod is signing with the 49ers on a 2-year deal. And this is a good signing for them because McLeod led the NFL in punt return yards last season. Interesting news on Russell Wilson. In his presser for the Denver Broncos, he came out and said his goal is to play 10 or 12 more years and hopefully win 3 or 4 more Super Bowls. That's the plan. That's the mindset. That's why I came here to finish my career here and hopefully finish on top as a champion. So we're going to see a super strong AFC West for probably a really long time.
It was really interesting for me to see Russell come out and say that he has 10 or 12 more years left. I mean, he's not 20, 25 or anything like that. So I was surprised when he said that. I mean, that's good for him. That actually he may have just over-exaggerated a little bit too, because you never really know when your body's going to fail you. So definitely that FC West. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Ian, we definitely gotta go to like Buffalo Wild Wings or something and watch some Sunday night games or something.
Yeah. We're gonna try to figure out if we still have viewers in the chat. We're trying to figure out like what we should do during the season. So we're gonna do multiple podcasts because we want to give our picks for like Sunday and Mondays and Thursday games. and we also want to review. But we're also trying to think maybe we could do watch parties every once in a while where we all watch the Sunday night football game in a Discord or live on YouTube or something. So if you're watching this later, let us know in the comment section down below. If you're watching now, have a comment, give us a DM on Twitter, any of the above, because we're trying to figure out the best way to form a little community as well, not just post podcasts.
Yeah, definitely. We want to be able to give our picks for games and also give our takes on every game that happened Sunday and Monday's game.
Yeah, I don't know how big you were on fantasy last year, but I was super involved with fantasy. I was in 5 different leagues. So not only do we want to give game stats and stuff, but I'd love to be able to talk about fantasy football too before a game, so you guys know who to start and sit. We can go deep into matchups and stuff. And if you're new to football, these ways, your knowledge of the game just is so much broader when you watch each individual games and matchups and stuff. And I enjoy doing it a lot.
Yeah, I've been enjoying these podcasts so much. It's just so fun talking about football. We're already at the 2.5 hour mark, and we're not even
I
we're
could literally
almost
do this all day.
we could do this for hours and hours. Definitely. Thank you, Vital, for commenting these questions. I mean, definitely you brought some really good questions, and we love bringing those questions. We'd rather do that than have these topics, but these topics are there for us to give you guys information on everything that happened in the NFL. And we kind of want to be like your source for news happening in the NFL on TikTok and Twitter and on here. Um, okay, so the Patriots have signed running back Ty Montgomery to a 2-year, $4 million deal. Haven't heard about Ty Montgomery much in recent years, but definitely he was on the Packers before, so had decent run. The Lions are signing the free agent and former Saints tight end Garrett Griffin. Chiefs free agent wide receiver Byron Pringle has signed with the Chicago Bears. Packers just resigned Rasul Douglas to a 4-year deal. That's gonna be a really good re-signing for their defense to keep that piece in there. And the Commanders signed former Jaguar Andrew Norwell.
Yeah, so basically we traded Brandon Scherf in there. Both play the same position.
Yeah. The Steelers just re-signed cornerback Akello Witherspoon to a 2-year deal. The Bengals signed offensive lineman Ted Karras. Shaq Lawson signed with the Bills on a 1-year deal. Shaq Lawson's a decent pass rusher. Definitely we talked about it. The Bills are trying to build up that D line, and they seem to be doing a good job of it. The Falcons signed defensive back Tease Tabor and all lineman Elijah Wilkinson to a 1-year deal. I don't know too much about these players. I think they're kind of younger and just haven't really played as a starter. I think maybe Elijah Wilkinson has, but I'm not sure. But I'm excited to see them play. And the Falcons also re-signed D lineman Anthony Rush to a 1-year deal and re-signed offensive lineman Colby Cassett. Anthony Rush has been getting pressure on a pass rushing list team, so I mean it'll be a good signing. The Cowboys got back Leighton Vander Esch with a 1-year deal. And it was interesting to me that they released him in the middle of the season last year because I really thought he was still playing well.
Yeah.
The Bears announced they won't be signing Larry Ogunjobi because of a failed physical, and they recently just signed DL Justin Jones on a 2-year deal just because they couldn't get Larry Ogunjobi. How does someone? I don't know, if they're trying to get to a new team, don't you think you'd be trying to do everything possible so you can't fail your physical?
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard different stories. Sometimes injuries, you try to come back, and you can't pass your physical.
Yeah, He's probably injured or something like that. Matt Ioannidis re-signed with the Carolina. Matt signed with the Carolina Panthers, the former Redskin. Bills released veteran D-tackle Star Lutulele. And Raiders signed Amir Abdullah. And the Dolphins also re-signed tight end slash quarterback Durham Smythe to a 2-year deal with $8 million. Mike Gesicki actually did this. He was like insider information from someone who actually is with him. The Panthers are giving wide receiver DJ Moore a 3-year contract extension worth $61.9 million and gets $41.6 million guaranteed.
I like this move because if they are in the market for a quarterback, if they don't draft a quarterback, if they are in the market, this helps persuade someone to want to play there.
Yeah, DJ Moore is a decent receiver. That's a lot of money for him. And the Panthers solidify one of their receivers. The Patriots agreed to terms with linebacker Jawan Bentley on a 2-year contract worth $9 million. Seahawks released defensive end Carlos Dunlap, and the Falcons are bringing back cornerback Isaiah Oliver on a 1-year deal. Isaiah Oliver has been a really good corner in the slot last year, for the last couple of years, and that cornerback room is looking kind of good now. I haven't seen it in a while. AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward, and Isaiah Oliver. If they're all healthy and are all healthy for the season, I think they can be a really good cornerback trio. Former Colts D-end Al-Quadin Muhammad reached agreement on a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Chicago Bears. Deshaun Watson waived his no-trade clause to get traded to the Cleveland Browns on a fully guaranteed 5-year, $230 million contract. Deshaun Watson, he changed his mind last second, was going to be an Atlanta Falcon, changed his mind for whatever reason, probably for the money. 5-year, $230 million guaranteed, highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Crazy. Just crazy. The Titans signed Austin Hooper to a 1-year, $6 million deal. You have any thoughts on Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I think he really screwed up the quarterback market. So we'll see when. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is kind of dumb for signing a 10-year deal.
Yeah,
he's not going to be able to get the money he should be getting. Now, I think he's basically making $50 million a year, which is insanely good. But the fact that Deshaun Watson's average is like 75, like what is that? What is that, like 70?
That's like around 70s.
I still think it's ridiculous that they're willing to pay him anywhere near that much,
especially when he didn't play. Yeah.
But I understand too. He was gonna. I don't know. It's weird because he could have got traded and then worked a contract later. But I think he understood he needed to work out a contract now because if he comes in, let's just say he did digress, he needed to get his contract now, and then hopefully he plays good and he can earn another contract in the future. But he played it smart. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he really did play it smart. The Browns gave up their whole future just to sign him. Literally. And it's just going to be interesting to see if he gets this better or not. Also, that you're talking about the quarterback market changing. Does this mean, like, if Patrick Mahomes wanted, he would be getting paid $300 million contract?
Probably.
That would be insane. I don't know how. There's got to be a limit because I don't think he can get higher because if they want to keep their players for next year, that cap space is gonna hurt so much.
Yeah, but it does always go up.
Yeah, it does.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's still tough to.
Yeah. And going back to the Bengals have released center Trey Hopkins. And the 49ers are signing safety George Odom to a 3-year contract worth almost $11 million. Juju is getting a 1-year $10.75 million deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Panthers are giving former Rams punter Johnny Hecker a 3-year $7.6 million deal, including $5 million guaranteed for a punter. And he's a really good punter. Oh yeah, no worries, Vital. No worries. Former Patriots All-Pro kicker returner Gunnar Olszewski is headed to the Steelers on a 2-year deal worth $4.2 million. Definitely, Gunnar is a really good special teamer. I've seen him play on the Patriots. Dude, he can tackle on special teams, and he's a really fast receiver too. So if you need a wide receiver, Steelers are definitely gonna get a good special teamer in him. And strong safety Anthony Harris is returning to Philadelphia on a 1-year deal. Ian, you can take over.
Linebacker Ezekiel Turner is returning to the Cardinals on a 1-year deal.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
Go ahead. Thank you, Vital, for stopping by. Thank you. We appreciate it for asking the questions too. Like, it just makes this way more fun as well.
Yeah, we're gonna we'll post on TikTok a couple hours before we go live. I know you mentioned our TikTok earlier, so we also are on Twitter, YouTube. What else are we on?
Twitter, YouTube. I think that's. Well,
but we always post before we go live, and we try to do it a couple hours before we do, because sometimes with our schedules we have to try to figure out when we're going. Like, it's not like a every Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of thing. But I think especially we might be going live more often for our podcast. We were recording them and then uploading them, but if we can get to a point where we can like dedicate 9 o'clock on or 10 o'clock on, maybe we'll start going live more often.
Definitely, we try to do our podcast at least once a week. Definitely, the next podcast will probably be in.
It's today.
Today's technically Tuesday now, but.
Oh yeah, you are an OG.
Thank you.
Whenever we do make it big, you're gonna be able to say, "I knew them. I knew them when they only had 23 subscribers on YouTube."
Wait, we have 23 now?
Sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Today's Tuesday. What do you think?
Maybe like Saturday or Sunday.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. We're not confirmed on like a schedule yet, because Ian works, so it definitely and my timing too. So definitely we figure it out usually a day or two before as well.
Yeah.
So, and definitely
we'll always post on our socials like well before we go live.
Yeah, we've been doing a really good job of just doing everything we can to get posts out on Twitter and TikTok. And TikTok's been really good for us. You probably know. Yeah, it's just been amazing support. And the PI Podcast hashtag has almost 70,000 views on it. Titans have recently, they just signed Buster Screen and Jordan Wilkins. And linebacker Ezekiel Turner is returning to the Cardinals on a 1-year deal. Former Steelers. All right, thank you so much, Vital. Appreciate it. Thanks for having Noties on. We really appreciate you being here and asking us questions. Definitely, it went by super fast, especially since you asked a lot of questions. Former Steelers wide receiver James Washington is going back to Texas and signing a 1-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have agreed to a deal with Dante Fowler, reuniting him with Dan Quinn. Dante Fowler, he's tried to be a pass rusher for Falcons, didn't work out. Interesting that the Cowboys signed him. I don't know if he's going to be that good. I mean, I guess they just signed him to get rid, because they got rid of Randy Gregory, or because he didn't want to sign with them.
Yeah.
Broncos are really signing Alex Singleton, and Yeah, as we said earlier, Fletcher Cox signed back with the Eagles on a 1-year, $14 million deal. The Titans re-signed kicker Randy Bullock, and the Panthers agreed to terms with cornerback Dante Jackson and gets his 3-year, $35 million deal with an average of about $12 million. The Raiders just signed QB Garrett Gilbert to add to that depth because they got rid of Marcus. They don't have Marcus Mariota anymore. Falcons, a big one. Falcons agreed to term with wide receiver, running back, and safety Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson is just a huge pickup for the Falcons, and Arthur Smith reinvented Cordero Patterson in a way he hasn't been used in his career. And just re-signing him is just big for Falcons because whoever the quarterback is, Marcus Mariota is going to have a big weapon in Cordero Patterson. And it's going to be fun to watch Cordero Patterson play. And I'm still mad about Matt Ryan, but yeah. The Packers are re-signing QB, so quarterback Rasul Douglas. Oh yeah, thank you so much, Weidel. Definitely no, just keep posting a lot on your YouTube. Definitely. We do have merch actually. Ian, do you have the link to the Link3? Do you have a Link3 link?
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and post? Yeah. Ian's gonna post it in the chat, Vital Lead, if you just want to check it out. Definitely, we have a lot. We have shirts and everything. But definitely, there's a sticker. It's really really cheap. So and it's a really good sticker. And there's a lot of other stuff if you are into that stuff.
Yeah, so our link tree has our YouTube,
Um,
Twitter, our Spotify, our Discord, our TikTok, our PayPal, our merch. It has everything on there.
yeah. But yeah, no, definitely Vital. Definitely keep posting on social media as much as you can. It's definitely because we run everything together, so it's a lot easier because both of us can post a lot of things, so it definitely
Yeah.
works out a lot better. But definitely keep trying to achieve your goal as a YouTuber. Like make a goal for yourself, and you can definitely do it. So thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. The Browns are sending veteran Case Keenum to the Bills for a 2022 7th-round pick.
Solid now that they lost Mitchell Trubisky. So if anything happens to Josh Allen, they have someone that can pick up the slack.
Yeah, and the Rams and QB Matt Stafford has just agreed on a contract extension on a 3-year, $129 million deal that's worth $43 million a year.
The Browns have signed quarterback Jacoby Brissett. So if Deshaun Watson does get suspended or anything, they have a solid backup to start just in case.
Oh yeah, thanks, Vital. Definitely, we appreciate it. You definitely, if you want to, definitely you can buy some from our merch store. You definitely don't have to. We put that out there, so if anyone would like that stuff, definitely they can.
Yeah, we're so also as a little bit of a background on me and Bull Mascot. We both stream to Twitch as streamers. We're both affiliates. We both can get subs and stuff and make money. But YouTube's a little different. So the only way that we can get to a point where we're really making a little bit of money to like put all the money we're gonna make is gonna get put back in, whether it's giveaways or whatever, or equipment or whatever. So we're putting all the money we get from this back in. So like the only way on YouTube we can do that is through merch or a PayPal link or donations basically. But on Twitch you have a subscriber button. On YouTube you don't have that until you have like 1,000 subscribers, all this watch time and stuff. So that's why we got the merch link and everything. And Watson is not suspended, but we do have a feeling there's a chance he could get suspended with all the allegations and stuff. We don't know how that's going to play out yet. The NFL hasn't said anything about it yet. Roger Goodell hasn't spoke on it yet.
Yeah, if Watson does get suspended, the Steelers definitely, like you say, Brisson isn't as a backup quarterback for a reason. He's not amazing or anything like that. He's a backup quarterback. Yeah. So definitely, if Deshaun Watson gets suspended, don't worry about the Browns. Like literally, you guys will be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I just think Brissett is like a good option. He's got starter experience if something happened to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. In other big news as well, the Rams traded Robert Woods to the Titans for a 2023 sixth round pick. And Robert Woods, yeah, like you said earlier, he tore his ACL, so he's not going to be coming back for a little bit.
Seahawks are in agreement on a 1-year deal with running back Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny didn't really live up to the hype coming into the league. However, he's a veteran running back at this point, so we'll see how he does. They still have Chris Carson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how he does with Chris Carson, I guess, backing him up.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier, Lyle Collins signed with the Bengals, $30 million 3-year deal. The Chargers are signing Gerald Everett to a 2-year, $12 million deal worth up to $13.5 million max with $8 million guaranteed. And Chargers really didn't have a tight end. They got rid of Jared Cook. So definitely they needed a tight end. Gerald Everett's been decent. He was on Seahawks, I believe, right? Yeah, he was on Seahawks, and he's been a decent tight end for them. Got some big plays for them. Former Giants pass rusher Lorenzo Carter has signed a 1-year deal with the Falcons. Lorenzo Carter, in his last 5 games, he had 4 sacks in his last 5 games. So definitely some upside to look forward to if he keeps playing like that for the Falcons to add to help that pass rush. Patriots O lineman Trent Brown agreed to a 2-year deal to sign back with the Patriots. The Bills signed quarterback Matt Barkley. The Falcons The Falcons have traded quarterback Matt Ryan to the Indianapolis Colts for a third-round pick. Don't know how it was only a third-round pick. I guess Falcons want to get rid of him because the organization sucks, and Arthur Blank doesn't know what he's doing, and he should be fired. And Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, I don't know what they're doing. They're trying to get rid of Julio Jones, trying to get Matt Ryan. I don't know what's wrong with this team. I don't even know. Marcus Mariota, his contract deal was almost $19 million. Go ahead, Ian. I'm already in depression mode.
All right, the Saints are re-signing quarterback Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal with a base salary of $28 million, including $21 million guaranteed. So that obviously means he is the starter. Eagles have reached an agreement with former Colts wide receiver Zach Pascal. The Bills are signing wide receiver Jamison Crowder to a 1-year deal, kind of in light of Cole Beasley leaving. And free agent safety Jaron Kearse is re-signing with the Cowboys.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, I appreciate it. Definitely that James Winston, he tore his ACL last year. Um, so, and we didn't know if he's going to be started this year. But now since they're out of the Deshaun Watson thing, they're definitely trying to find a quarterback in James Winston. He played well when he started. That's the thing. But I honestly don't think James Winston is that guy. So they're probably going to use him for a year or two and just get rid of him.
Yeah.
And Atlanta off-season grade. We're gonna do our grades for our teams. Atlanta Falcons. Their grade I give them right now. They did get good signings. So but everything but the Matt Ryan trade, I'm gonna give him a B minus. Because Casey Edwards is a really good pickup. Lorenzo Carter is decent. And whoever they signed is decent. Young Goku re-signing him. Re-signing Cordell Patterson. B minus so far. But after the Matt Ryan trade, I'm giving them an F. Because that organization doesn't know what they're doing by trading Matt Ryan. He had 3 or 4 good years left in him. And he would have let us do Super Bowl if we built up a defense. And he's never had a defense. We never given him a defense. Atlanta Falcons never given him a defense. They never gave him anything. They never gave him an O-line. He was the most sacked quarterback 2 years ago. And still is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL to this day, and they don't even know what they're doing to this damn day.
To this day. All right. The Atlanta Falcons, to me, I agree with the grade. Anywhere in the B range for them is good. Pre Matt Ryan, so like I don't know. They picked up some needs and they re-signed some key players like Cordell Patterson. I think Cordell Patterson is a super slept-on player in the league, and I think Arthur Smith actually knew how to use him. So I really like the players that they picked up. I think they increased their secondary enough to where I think that their defense will be in the top 20 finally. I think they need to. We'll see what they do with their. What pick do they have? Number 8.
Yeah. I
We'll
think
see
I'm
what they
pretty
do
sure
with
we
number
go
8.
draft, but I'm pretty sure we go with draft. I think we keep Marcus Mariota this year and worry about franchise quarterback next year.
Yeah, especially they did a 2-year deal with Mariota, so
Yeah.
maybe that is in the future. um, so yeah, I think a B anywhere in the B range is fair.
One
For
last thing I want to
the
say. I swear to God, if Marcus Mariota throws more than 15 picks, I'm literally bashing him, and he's need to get cut immediately. If he does bad, I'm gonna be so mad. Like literally, if he throws a pick first game, I'm gonna be so mad at him. I'm literally gonna jump up and yell, "That's why you don't trade Matt Ryan, dummies."
we're gonna have to watch that. We're gonna have to watch the first week of the NFL together
Yeah.
for sure, so I can record your reaction to a pick. Um, the Jacksonville Jaguars offensive grades. I'm gonna be a little biased here, and I'm gonna give them an A minus. I would give them a little bit higher if they could have got some of these contracts for cheap, but like I said before, it's the Jaguar tax. You have to pay the Jaguar tax. And they were all super well written contracts to where they're all voidable after 2 years with not a lot of cap hit on the dead cap. And they did what they needed to do, which they should have done last year, and that was get Trevor Lawrence weapons. So now their wide receiver room, they still need a true number one, but now they have Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Laviska Shenault, Jamal Agnew, and Laquan Treadwell. I think that's a really solid wide receiver group. It's going to give Trevor options with the ball. Then in the tight end room, you have Evan Ingram. I like the pickup. He's a fast tight end. He does kind of have some butterfingers, but he's a super fast tight end, which is going to have a corner guard him, which means there should be less linebackers on the field, which means the running game should open up for James Robinson and Travis Etienne. And I really like all the offensive line help they got. The defensive side of the ball, they upgraded that linebacker. They upgraded that corner. Their linebacker core is now, like I said, Shaquille Griffin, Tyson Campbell. He showed out as a rookie halfway through the season. And Darius Williams. And they also signed Trey Herndon, which is a good depth player. As long as we get use out of our draft picks from last year, which is what Urban Meyer really failed to do, Walker Little needs to start on the offensive line somewhere, whether you have Cam Robinson as your left tackle and Walker Little as your right tackle. You need to get Juwan Taylor off the team, and then the offensive line will be super solid. And I think this is going to be a good year for Trevor Lawrence because Doug Peterson is a really good – damn, I can't stop coughing. Is a really good offensive-minded head coach. He made Carson Wentz look like an MVP. He got Nick Foles to win him a Super Bowl. So I'm super excited for the potential of Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence in his offense. And I forgot Dan Arnold. I really shouldn't forget him because Dan Arnold is a solid tight end. And him and Evan Ingram, you're going to have Evan Ingram to take the top off the team, and you're going to have Dan Arnold as a safety blanket. I'm super excited for next season. And like I said, I give the Jacksonville Jaguars an A-.
Actually, I agree with Ian. I think that I'm gonna give them A minus. I think they had they had the best free agency out of any team this year, and it's because they got these really good players. They overpaid for Christian Kirk, but they got the wide receiver they needed for Trevor Lawrence. They got Foyce Olokun, led the NFL in tackles last year, which went underrated. He's super underrated. So really good pickup for the Jaguars. Evan Ingram, really fast tight end, really good pickup as well. They got 2 linemen as well, Brandon Scherf and another one. Those are amazing pickups as well. So definitely they are much improved, and I give them an A minus as well.
If you're if I'm not a Jaguars fan and I'm not gonna use my biasness here, I think the Chargers had really good free agency. I think the Raiders had a really good free agency, and then I'll also say the Bengals had a really good free agency. They didn't make a lot of big names, but they did upgrade their offensive line, which was a huge need for them,
Wait a
and
second.
I can't argue with their offensive line.
I think the stream just restarted. Yeah, it literally at the 3 hour mark, it literally shut off. I don't know. I don't know. The time it went live. It went to the 3 hour mark and literally just stopped and started. Now it's at 38 seconds. It's weird. I have no idea what happened.
Okay,
But
well, we're pretty much over anyway.
yeah. So thank you guys for watching the podcast. Vital, thank you so much for stopping by. You are amazing. Thank you so much for asking us a question and everything. Definitely that helped us definitely be be more alive and stuff like that, I guess. But also thank you for everything, as well, following us to TikTok and everything. But thank you guys so much for watching the podcast. I think we're gonna do this live more often, because
I
of the
like the live,
feedback
yeah.
we got. So definitely make sure you stay tuned. We will probably start doing these podcasts live every week. During the start of the NFL season, we're probably going to be doing the podcast live, but probably two, maybe even two or even 3 times a week, depending on our schedules. But thank you guys again. Definitely subscribe if you are new and hit that notification bell so you know when we post brand new videos. And we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Thank you guys.